Welcome back to the party, everybody. This is Morty, and I am your host, Fletch, aka TheIndianJesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Everybody hit that like and subscribe. You know I would do it for you, and let's party. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm sure you guys have at least seen that Candace Owens did a deep dive on the Macron family and exposed Brigitte Macron, Brigitte, whatever the hell her name is, as a man, baby. So I haven't actually personally had the chance to go through the whole series and everything, but shout out to our boy Tim Dillon, who brought Candace in a few days ago, and they were talking all about it and some of the other stuff that she's been diving into as well. I am very excited for this one. Please do hit that like and subscribe, and as always, if you cannot hit the video, please do let me know.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Tim Dillon Show. You know, Regis and Kathy Lee are done. Kelly and Michael, I think, are done. I don't even know who's the new Anderson Cooper and whoever. I just think this country needs a new morning show, and it would look exactly or very similar to this. I think this is what we might have a little bit of a nicer backdrop, but a morning show for America would be Candace and Tim in the morning. We lead with the person she's just done a little better, let's be honest, in follower counts and exposure.
Plus, you got a black, you got a woman, and you got a gay with just two people.
And I will tag right along. And I mean, first of all, thank you for doing this.
Candace and Tim.
Candace, oh yeah, for sure.
It was like Regis and Kelly.
I play my position. I know the deal. Sure. Candace and Tim. I fully play my position. I show up, you hand me an index card. Mm-hmm. I'm good.
That's good.
I go for sure. Yeah.
Okay, good. Great.
You know, I wanted to tell you a fun story that I think you'll like. I know that you probably you know your reach, but I think it surprises you sometimes. I was at the Beverly Hills Hotel. A French guy who checks me in all the time goes, "Get over here." I thought there was like a problem in the hotel. I didn't know what was going on. I thought there was a leak in the room. He goes, "Listen," he's whispering in the lobby of the hotel. He goes, "Are you watching the Candace Owens expose right now?" And I said, "Yeah, I kind of a little bit." And he goes, "Oh my God." He goes, "I'm from France." And he goes, "I believe it's true." And he's like, "I know people who've seen weird stuff." And we just started giggling like schoolgirls and talking, watching Candace Owens, because you've now become like this wild investigative, like you do these deep dives into stuff. Mm-hmm. And it's really wild. And like, it was just really fun to me that.
Have you guys seen? I like I said, I haven't watched the whole series. I've seen little bits of it, and you know the fact that the not royal family, but the presidential family has been in contact with her, and they won't answer basic questions and stuff. But now she's moving on to her new thing that apparently Harvey Weinstein wasn't that bad. I don't know. That's not what I'm saying. That's what she's saying.
You know, this guy who's just checking me into a hotel was really like watching your content, and then he's on this thing's blown up in France.
Oh, everywhere. I mean, it is the most international thing I've ever done, and I could not have ever predicted that it would be that big.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is if Emmanuel Macron had not sent me that letter threat, we were only going to do one episode.
Talk about the Streisand effect.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's like I was so angry that he had the audacity to send a server processor to Nashville, Tennessee. And I'm a little testy when I'm pregnant. I'll give you that, but someone is going to knock on my front door and say, "The president of France says you're not allowed to speak or else." So yeah, it's just a challenge. So I was like, okay, now we're really doing this thing. Like I already knew he married a dude, but now we're really doing this thing. And we just poured hours and hours and hours into just more research, tagging it on, making sure people could follow it themselves and understand that this wasn't like for funsies. It's like he actually married a dude.
What was interesting about this thing, I mean, you go on this, I mean, I don't want to call it a treasure hunt, but you go on this
looking for the jewels,
exhaustive trip, this research into Brigitte Macron, who, by the way, a lot of people in France agree with you.
Well, they know.
Of all political stripes. And by the way, gay people, trans, like this is not like a lot of people are like, one of the journalists who looked into this was a gay journalist. Like a lot of people are like, yeah, something's up here. Mm-hmm. Something's up.
Oh, it's more than up. It is like 1000% true. Or else the way that he could have stopped the entire docuseries, for those people who haven't like watched it, we then wrote back to the president and his mister at the Élysée Palace and said, I'm glad you opened up lines of communication. We're not interested. We're not in the business of defaming anyone. I would make a fool of myself. So if you would just kindly answer this yes or no question, like, were you born a woman, a female, Brigitte? We'll include this and we'll stop the series. They declined to do it. So who would not stop if I'm like, I'm about to do this huge piece and you can stop it by simply answering yes or no, but they could.
Silence speaks volumes, don't it?
Do that, because then they would have been lying on record. It would have opened up way more issues. And unfortunately, he's not familiar with law in America. But in order to reach that actual malice standard, you have to show that we acted in reckless disregard for the truth. You refuse to say the truth. I mean, it was just this pompous 100-page. We don't have to answer whether or not like Brigitte is a woman or a man. What a bizarre thing to say.
It's such an odd story because what's very interesting about the story to me, there's many layers to it. And what it really calls into question is, how much do we know about the people who run our lives?
Nothing.
That's the big question there, guys. And we're doing something new for the Swole Stream goal. So I've changed it to 15 super chats, but it can be any denomination. And if we get to $50, goal is met. So send in those donos. And of course, every donation comes with a treat for Morty.
Nothing.
So this is what's really interesting to me. These people are introduced at some point as the best option to lead whatever. I think one of the reasons Trump was so popular is that people knew him for 30 years. Love him, hate him. Multiple wives, this, that, and the other. People say nasty things about him. People adore him, but they know him. He's not, certain people, Bill Clinton is governing the smallest state in America and is then thrust into the spotlight. Barack Obama, a lot of people on the right wing just emerge and they become, a household name immediately. We don't know. No one is doing a lot of research into the backstories of any of these people. And when we do, we're attacked. You're being attacked. It's the craziest. I'm like, what is happening?
And it's so much crazier because there's stuff that I can't say on record just yet.
Of course.
I'll tell you off camera, but it's gotten even crazier in terms of like Emmanuel has really come undone because he has never been this exposed. Everyone kind of already knew in France, because in France it was being like it was a bubble, but the journalists again on the left were the ones that fell down the hole as they were trying to write these honestly, they were trying to prop up Brigitte. They were trying to write these feminist pieces about Brigitte and then suddenly they're like, oh, they were trying to
men just do everything better, even being women. Shame. Shout out to King Nirvana. Welcome to the party. Very good to see you, sir.
They were trying to write these feminist pieces about Brigitte, and then suddenly, they're like, oh, they were trying to do like the Michelle Obama. Oh, this is amazing for women. And then when they tried to do any bit of research, they fell down a hole because the person didn't exist. And then suddenly they were being called into the Élysée Palace. Like, imagine I'm going to write this glowing piece about Ivanka Trump and her childhood. And suddenly you get called in and you have Secret Service being like, what are you working on?
And there's no photos.
You can't, here's what you're going to write. And let me tell you how it's going to go. And people were going, this is weird. Why can't I find or confirm anything? Why are they locking down yearbooks? Imagine if you were like.
That was a big thing from what I did see of Candace's work, is that there are 0 photographs of Brigitte as a young girl. There's none.
I'm going to write about Candace. I'm going to Stanford High School. And then suddenly like Stanford High School starts locking down yearbooks. Something's not right here. This is not, it should be very easy to fact check that somebody existed.
It's very easy to find at least a few
cheerleading photos
of somebody.
I don't know, you in the hospital when you gave birth to your 3 kids. And everybody take that first photo.
But you also go into this thing. And by the way, some of this is, and you've just, when you're doing this, the sense of humor, I don't know if you know how funny it is, but it is, it's laugh out loud. And I mean, the staff at these hotels, we're all just watching, and people like the richest people in the world, like, hey, our room services, we're like, can you relax? We're on episode 3. There's 6 episodes. We have a lot to do. But it's very funny you deliver this stuff. First of all, this idea that really struck me about this whole thing was, number one, she gets together with him. He's like 15, right? So
it's already weird. It started weird.
Yeah. So even if it is completely made up that this was a born a man and all that stuff, it was still like a 35-year age difference when they started.
Problem.
It's like you're 40 and he's 16. So even if this was above
40 and 16.
Or he's 14, you're 40, we got a problem.
Huge problem. But then this is what really makes me laugh. It is, and Candace, if you haven't watched it, you got to watch it because she handles this in a very funny way. It's sold that this is like a voluptuous model that like is on, like no one could resist this woman. Like every guy in class is going to be looking at this woman going like, this woman is voluptuous and really attractive, and like she's just a
Claudia Schiffer.
Claudia Schiffer.
Yeah.
And
Claudia Schiffer. Why don't I remember Claudia Schiffer? Claudia Schiffer. Oh wait, just had it. Oh, that's Claudia Schiffer. I mean, you know, not quite the same as Brigitte. Not quite.
And then the photos come out of Brigitte Macron, and immediately you go, they're lying about everything. Like everything's a lie. Like you see this, and immediately you go, wait a minute, hold on. Everything seems to be a lie. We've all seen.
Why y'all so quiet? Why y'all so quiet? Say hello. What's good?
Beautiful women, and we know what good-looking women look like. There's nothing wrong. You know what I mean? It's like, this isn't a voluptuous French.
This is a gym teacher,
Yes.
a PE teacher.
Yes.
Yeah, they already, when they were trying to run Emmanuel, they knew they had to justify this weird age gap. And so
Right.
the press
Which
went
again
out.
was 48 and 15.
It was, if at best, they were trying to tell 40 and 14. Okay, at best.
Which is illegal.
But actually,
Maybe not there,
it's
but
48 and 14, because we know
That's
that
the
Jean,
craziest.
once you get to the end of it, you realize, this is Jean-Michel Trogneau. But if she actually had
Okay.
been Brigitte, the enemy
Yeah.
that she stole, then it would have been 40 and 14.
So the name she just used is supposedly the man's real name from at birth.
They first went to the press and wrote a bunch of confusing articles like, oh, actually, no, he was 15. And they sold him as this like virtuoso Mozart.
Right.
And she was just supposed to be, according to the press, if you just read the articles and nobody actually found pictures of her,
Right.
this just irresistible, drop dead Claudia Schiffer, sexy. All the boys, imagine their hormones running, they're
Right.
horny. Like, oh, we love this teacher. She's so hot. And then you see the actual photos of
No, it's
her.
crazy.
And you're like, no boy. No,
No, it's
boy,
crazy.
not one boy at this school, not even one boy at this school
Not even the lesbos.
was into this. So what is this? Why did the press even lie to us about that? And then you start realizing something's very wrong here with this picture.
Something's very wrong here. And then you start, and then you do this amazing job of, because there's a lot of people that have looked into this in
Mhm.
France, and they've been defamed and sued.
Detained.
Detained.
The main journalist on this had to move his family because they were trying to get him on taxes. Like, I
Right.
will find any crime. And they started going after people
That's how they got Al Capone.
for really small and petty things.
And they didn't care who's writing about this. They're going after everybody.
Mhm.
And it's weird for a story with no legs, or for something that's completely untrue. Why would they be detaining people?
Why would a president of a country
Send
send
a
a letter
letter
to Nashville,
To you?
Tennessee,
Yeah, it's crazy.
to like a pregnant woman that's like recording from her basement? That's
Right.
I'm surprised that if this, whatever Candace has uncovered is true, that why Emmanuel would ever think that, oh, I could have a life in politics. Like, that's the first thing you think of when you're going to be a public person, is that, all my secrets are going to be shown to the world. So that is the most confusing part to me. I mean, it's America. It's 2025. There's trances all over the place. Whatever. I mean, the 40 and 15 thing or 14 is weird, but we've seen it before. The decision with all of that going on to say, yes, I'm going to run for president of France, and nobody's ever going to know. I don't know about that one.
tells you the story's true. I mean, there's no
Right.
otherwise you'd be like, well, part of being a president, people write stuff about you all the time.
Exactly.
And the stuff they say
Right.
about Trump, like
Yeah.
he's not gonna, you can't chase down every person that's saying something unless there's something here
Right.
that you're very fearful of. And it's terrifying when you get to it.
What do you think the reaction is the palace to when this line of inquiry starts coming from you, from someone in America with a massive platform? Are they panicked?
Yes.
Yeah.
They are panicked. They are making phone calls. Their lawyers are still calling my lawyers. They still asked for us to take down the series because they were afraid when Joe Rogan mentioned it recently. So they made another phone call. And
I mean, the cat's out of the bag now. Again, it's 2025. You may as well lean into it.
and we're basically like, we could still sue you in the future, but maybe you just want to take it down. And I'm like, have they not worked through my character? Stop with these phone calls. As I said to my lawyer, if they call again, we're doing a season 2 because I left a lot on the table.
Yeah.
I basically was like,
This
there's
is
so
amazing.
much here.
No, if they call again, you're going to get this on Netflix.
It's right,
If they call
stop
again,
calling
yeah,
pregnant Candace.
No, of course,
Please.
of course. Now, you go through this whole thing. This opens these interesting doors, right? Now, a lot of people, you find yourself in the subterranean world that most people don't know exists,
Mhm.
right? Where you have intelligence agencies and these programs, things like MK Ultra. Now, some people do know about this stuff. Some people are, really well educated on this stuff. Some people have a passing familiarity with it.
That's more me. I have a passing familiarity. I don't know how much deep diving I've done on like paperclip. Well, no, not more so MK Ultra.
But they were mind control programs that were in America. They were all over the place, and these were programs that were utilized to turn, people into essentially slaves that could be programmed to do things, whether it was assassinate someone and not remember why or who told you to do it,
right,
or be a sex slave, or perhaps in a Manchurian candidate fashion, run the government,
run a country.
And
that is who Emmanuel Macron is. And the craziest part.
So that's kind of the.
By the time I looked at everything, think about this. This is a guy who was sold to the public as a virtuoso, Mozart. He was just so brilliant. When you get to the episode where I explained to you that essentially, just so Americans understand, they have a program that every person who runs a bank goes through. Let's call it a graduate program, like going to maybe UPenn and getting your MBA. It's slightly different, but just for sake of understanding here.
Hey, shout out to Bambi. Welcome to the party. And we earlier said, it's a man, baby. It's a man. Welcome.
So he went to this program after failing to get into it 3 times. Then magically they're just like, okay, you can get in. And not only did he then get in, but he graduated at the top of his class. There were some like tests that they had to do, and he graduated. And everyone on campus knew he was an idiot. Okay. For the first time in that college's, university, or program's history, the students revolted and said, these are clearly fake test scores. There's no way this idiot, Emmanuel Macron, got the number 1 grade in this. We all know he's an idiot. And so for the first time in that program's history, because the kids were so outraged, they just canceled the results because they made it up that he like finished the top of his class. Beyond that, he then goes and works for Rothschild Bank.
As they said before, it begs the question, how much of this stuff is actually going on? Because they were apparently everybody knew, but if nobody's saying anything, then how much weird stuff of just people inventing their own backstories and life story, how often is that happening? Shout out to Josie. Welcome to the party. I've been following this story since last year. There's something going on for sure. I also think it's a man. Yeah, we've got our running poll. Do you think Brigitte Macron is a man? We got yes, no, I'm not sure, or somehow I don't know who that is. And right now, yes is in the lead. Welcome.
Made it up that he like finished the top of his class. Beyond that, he then goes and works for Rothschild's Bank, right? Is the youngest ever managing.
And whenever there's some screwy shit, it's the Rothschilds, not so much the Koch brothers anymore, or George Soros. And everything goes back to them.
Partner. The people that work at Rothschild's Bank said he was such an idiot, he didn't even know what EBITDA meant. But they all knew that David Rothschild just plucked him up, and that was to essentially give him a fake resume.
He's never defined himself intellectually in any capacity.
No, and he's just
top of his class, and now he's working Rothschild Bank, the youngest, managing whatever.
Yeah, and so
maybe that's really the long and short of it, is that we need somebody who does have a secret, so that we, being the Rothschild, somebody who does have a secret, so that we can take advantage of that and blackmail them. That's the only thing I can think of, because that, again, that's the biggest thing for me. If you have this going on in your life, have a nice little quiet life and do your thing.
So that was done by the Wall Street Journal, who did a book on this. So this isn't like we're finding this stuff on Reddit threads. The people spoke out and were like, he was such an idiot, but it didn't matter. And we understood that he was like protected Rothschild, and they needed to kind of create this fake resume for him to make people think he was a genius. He's not. Emmanuel Macron is not smart.
And when the traditional press is looking into this and they're finding similar things to what you're finding, how are they presenting this idea that this kind of like empty suit of a guy?
They're not. Shout out to Tijuana Border Jumper. Welcome to the party. Very good to see you, brother. Good to see you.
Or things to what you're finding. How are they presenting this idea that this kind of like empty suit of a guy is like failing upwards?
Yeah, I think what a lot of these mainstream journalists do is they kind of say what they have to say in a very professional way, and they leave it for the people like me to then kind of,
it's a good point.
Go there and say, hey, guys, this is what a Manchurian candidate would look like.
Right.
These people tend to always be in drama classes.
Right.
It's just like Zelensky is obviously so.
Yeah. Right.
Is anybody actually thinking that Zelensky is running the country? He's a literal actor
in a
who played it. Yes.
Show. Yeah.
And they all are in these, they're all in drama classes.
I always imagine Vladimir Putin finding that out. And go
like, yeah, oh yes, oh thank God, Ukraine, they made a huge mistake. Let's go take it over. You know, I said so many good live streams, but I feel a loyalty here. Well, thank you, Dilly, to all of you. Yeah, I really appreciate it because I know there's a billion other things that you could be watching, but you are here with me and Morty, and that means the world to me.
But almost being like, what, the CIA is not even trying.
No, I feel that way.
It's not even. It's so crazy.
Mm-hmm. I do feel that way. I often
it would be
picture
installing
Vladimir Putin.
Khloe Kardashian,
right,
to run, the Ukraine. Yeah,
and I wouldn't even say Khloe. I could probably buy more than Zelensky
for sure.
He's just. It's so out. It's like, who is behind you? Why are we doing this?
Right.
That was
the Kardashians. At least have a successful name and brand.
That's why they freaked out about the Tucker Putin interview, because Putin at one point when Tucker asked a question about what about the president or whatever, or he shook hands with Bill Clinton, agreed to something, and Putin was kind of like, I don't deal with your presidents, I deal with the CIA. Like your presidents are just kind of like, they
That's a really good point, that especially with these conflicts that are going to span more than 4 years, it's not really the president that is going to be the main go-between. Obviously, the president has more power, but something to keep an eye on there.
They're puppets. Like, I got to deal with the CIA. And these are the sorts of things they don't want the public to know, right? Because we need to all believe in this illusion, like you voted this person in and this person's really running things and the deep state doesn't exist. But never, and I've come to terms with that a long time ago, but never in a million years did I think, the Emmanuel Macron story is wacky because it's like, if you're already going to go through this effort to choose a Manchurian candidate, is it just not like crazy enough just doing that? Like, do you really have to add on the transitioning of a potential family member who molested him when he was a kid and just see if you can get away with it? Is it just like, ha, let's see if if we just have a man as the first lady, that's like a really big.
So that's why I don't understand. If this is your story, why are you going to be a public person at all? At all. It doesn't make sense.
Who is Brigitte Macron?
Brigitte Macron was an individual who was born Jean-Michel Trogneau.
Jean-Michel Trogneau.
And the relation to Emmanuel is?
That I can't say for certain.
Okay.
That's why we did not conclude how they are related. My sense is it's the missing uncle whose name is Jean-Michel, who was
not a bad guess.
Who was the godfather when Emmanuel Macron got first communion at school. Who's just missing. Like there's just like a missing. That's my best bet, is that it's an uncle, but I don't know. I know that without question that Brigitte Macron was not born a woman. We've given them every ample opportunity to clarify that fact.
And what did they say? Nothing. Shout out to Taco Baco. When was the last time Kardashians were relevant other than Kim's ex-husband being Hitler's strongest soldier? It's more than just a TV show. The Kardashians have a I don't know how much it's worth, but they are rich for a reason. Shout out to Craig in the building. Welcome. Always a pleasure to see you. And we got our boy CT223. Always good to see ya. Then he said, bless Kanye. Dilly to Kanye. It's yay now, all right? It's yay.
And what they've done behind the scenes since that series has only further stressed that we have definitively stumbled upon the truth, and they are going through very desperate measures right now to try to get our series removed off of YouTube.
Really?
Yeah. Like as far as you could possibly go in terms of trying to get this series removed and to get me shut up, because they know that the legal route isn't working. They're placing high phone calls. They're doing whatever they can. And that should signal to the public that this is real, because
True. And hey, as much issues that we have with YouTube and censorship and all that stuff, and there are definitely issues there. The fact that the French government is trying to get this shut down, and they're just like, no, it's here to stay. Gotta give them credit. There you go. It's not yay, it's gay now. Very true. Very, very sadly true. Gay and incestuous. Yikes.
They're placing high phone calls. They're doing whatever they can. And that should signal to the public that this is real. Because again, if somebody made a series and was like, Candace Owens was actually born Michael, I'd be like, dude, you're an idiot. Like, that's actually kind of funny.
There's something interesting about the idea.
Can anybody think of a reason why, other than the fact that they can't answer truthfully, why the family would not want to provide the information that proves that it was born as a woman, that it was a girl, I can't think of any reason other than the fact that they're lying, that you wouldn't just say, yes, of course, this is her as a girl, this is her as a mother, so on and so forth.
That if you can sell people on this, then what else could you sell people on? You know, if this is the case where this woman who was Jean-Michel Tragneau, they've put the entire French press to sleep, and they've done this with the help of a kind of PR guru, right, in France,
a gangster. Let's be clear,
a gangster.
Mimi Marchand is a gangster.
Mimi, what is it?
In France,
a gangster. Let's be clear,
a gangster.
Mimi Marchand is a gangster.
Mimi Mo Marchand.
She's again now being tried for extortion and all this stuff. But that's the way the governments run. I don't think people can process that. But it's like the CIA was a gang. They are a gang.
Right.
You know, they will kill people who don't do what they want. And so in order to massage this in the public, they used a woman.
People feel very comfortable saying that about Putin in Russia and places, but they find it unbelievable that in America there would be violence
like, no.
or targeted assassinations or blackmail or things like that.
In America? That doesn't happen in America. Come on, man.
It's weird.
Yeah. Are you banned from France?
I wouldn't go to France.
Yeah.
I've effectively banned myself because they have the full power to do whatever they want in France. I mean, think about the fact that they arrested Pavel Durov for a bit.
Right. For Telegram.
Yeah, they are not. That is not a free speech country. And they are deranged. And so if they're already arresting journalists, I'm like number one. If they went through the strenuous effort to send me a 100-page letter, I'm not going to go into their gang territory.
It's your belief that you've got Emmanuel Macron, who goes through this program. He's selected at a very young age to basically be some type of Manchurian candidate. And then at some point, Jean-Michel Tragneau becomes Brigitte, who then becomes a teacher. Yeah. And then
to further groom, he was groomed by Brigitte. There's no question.
Right. And then Macron is 14, Brigitte's 40,
or supposedly 48.
Then they begin at what point do they begin a courtship? I'm like confused.
Well, the official story is that they tell you is she saw him on stage performing in the play, and as a 40-year-old woman, even that was a flag for me. Like, it's older women, like
so much of this is really not even about the Macrons. So much of this to me is proof that the conspiracy-minded, the conspiracy mindset, at least recently, is absolutely warranted. Absolutely warranted. CT said people still think Epstein was in charge of his ring. It was Ghislaine Maxwell. They always underestimate the women. Feel like it's similar to this story. Possibly. Because on the other hand, why are we spending an entire podcast trying to prove a chick has a dick? Meanwhile, halftime, the U.S. ports are empty. The other half are jammed. I'm pretty sure there was another show that was covering that.
Men will find like younger women attractive. You know what I mean? Like a hot 18-year-old. Older women, like
it's almost like I've said from the very beginning, this is not a news show.
Have you ever seen a 14-year-old boy? I mean, they're like literally like a gang. Like it's not like a man in their prime is going to be like a 22-year-old. You know what I mean? Right. Like, if you've seen a 14-year-old boy, I'm like, we don't find. Why would a 40-year-old woman?
Every woman I know,
14-year-old boy,
people that are usually their age or a little bit older.
You want the Troy Brad Pitt age for men. So when you see a woman and she's a cougar, she's a cougar for Troy.
Right. That I mean, even I don't know how Brad Pitt was in Troy, but you know the developed. You know, later in college, that's where you usually seen it. Rarely is it even 18. 14? Oh, come on, man. What kind of story is this? A Brad Pitt age for men. So when you see a woman and she's a cougar, she's a cougar for Troy. Brad Pitt and Troy.
No, she's
not looking for a 14-year-old boy.
No, we're talking about a crime.
It's a crime. Everyone just go find a 14-year-old boy.
It's a crime.
No, it's a crime. There's not a hot 14-year-old boy. They're very much in their weird phase.
She's a teacher at the school.
Yeah.
Weird.
He's a student.
And he's in a play, and she just was so.
By the way, what happened? Remember the Me Too? Remember all the concerns about all the things like this? This would seem to be prime.
I would hope it would fall in the parameters of a little bit of Me Too.
Fall in the parameters of an inappropriate power dynamic.
Just a little bit.
Oh, come on, Tim Dillon catching strays, bro, catching strays.
And so she then claims that it was just so irresistible, and then at some point they pursue a relationship, and that part gets a little bit fuzzy.
I would imagine that part gets a little fuzzy. This whole shit is fuzzy.
Yeah, that part gets a little bit fuzzy, alleging she was married. And I mean, you have to watch. There's so much there that's just insanity.
And it's being
insanity.
Talked about by so many different people that, because you've waded into a lot of things recently where you have a perspective that a lot of people don't have, but as soon as they start listening to you, they start going, wait a minute. Whether they agree with all your conclusions or not, the general consensus is that you're on to something.
She's on to something. Let's take a break real quick. If you guys are enjoying the show, the party rages on 24/7 over in our Discord. The link is pinned to the top of the chat and is absolutely free to join 24/7. We're in there hanging out, having a great time. And guys, it is absolutely free. However, if you are a member of this channel here on YouTube, you can scroll right below that video and hit that join button. Starts at $2.99. There's a few different tiers, but $2.99 will get you in. It gets you members only live streams here on YouTube, all that other good stuff. But it opens up the full Discord server. So we've got the free chat that is open to anyone. Anybody can join and talk. But as you can see, that is just one of our channels. There's a bunch of different channels here, including our Disciple chat for members only, our Word of the Day watch party, where we're talking about all this stuff. And of course, we have the voice channel here, where we are hanging out at this moment. Shout out to everybody in the Discord server. Say hello and tell them to come and join.
Hello, come and join.
There you go, guys. Simple as that. See you there. All right. And it's been raging the last few days, so definitely come and join us.
Whether they agree with all your conclusions or not, the general consensus is that you're on to something.
Yeah.
So, and
I mean, if he said it, fair enough.
For example, people, anti-Semitism, this, that, and the other thing. But there is a prominent Jewish person that you are helping that no one else is helping.
Yeah, they ignore that part. She's Adolf Hitler.
There is a very prominent Jewish person who you are actually helping that no one is helping, and that person is Harvey Weinstein. And you have.
Oh yeah. So this is what I was mentioning before, that I heard her talking about the fact that not that he is innocent from having sex with these women, but that it was a completely consensual thing. I don't know. I'm just saying that's what she's saying.
Looked over this and have come to, I don't want to say a conclusion, but you're certainly leaning in the direction that we don't know the whole story.
He was wrongfully convicted, is my conclusion. And I the thing about me is, when you listen to my podcast, I'll tell you my thoughts. Like the whole idea of saying that like you're not biased or like it is ridiculous. So I will say to someone, I've looked over this case. After looking over this case, I've concluded that Harvey Weinstein was wrongfully convicted and was basically just hung on the Me Too thing. And I'm going to show you how I got there, but I'm going to give you access to everything I'm looking at. Like, I'm not here to tell you I'm the expert and I'm above you. You can investigate this with me. And Harvey Weinstein, when this came across my plate, honestly, somebody contacted me and I thought he was guilty. I mean, that even shows that I think I'm impervious to the media, and I always know the media is lying, but I clearly fell for the Harvey Weinstein thing because it was.
And I'm still, despite my trust in what Candace does, I am not comfortable being like, okay, well, if Candace said it, then it must be true. That's a big one. But shout out to her.
And I always know the media is lying, but I clearly fell for the Harvey Weinstein thing because it was 130 women. I mean, I was like, something's just basic odds here.
Something's going on.
Someone's got to be telling the truth. And then I realized I didn't even know why he was in prison. I didn't even recognize how many women actually put him in prison. And it came down to just 3. In all of those cases, 3 women.
And I'm trying to, now that I'm actually thinking about it, what were the actual charges that he went in for? Let's take a little side quest here. What exactly were the charges Harvey Weinstein was convicted of? You're not supposed to end a sentence in a preposition, but whatever. So we had criminal sexual act in the first degree. So she's saying forcible. Again, hard to. I'm not taking sides. I'm just saying that is definitely hard to prove. And then RP, non-consensual act. Then in LA, more. So he does have, the hard R, but according to Candace, not quite.
And when you look at the case, it is the most absurd, ridiculous. You have to genuinely believe that a woman can be while having a 4-year affair, raped one time, continued the affair for multiple years. That one time she was raped right after, emailed him for tickets to go to Paris, to be flown with her friends to Paris. That part she doesn't remember, or when she gets questioned on the stand, she breaks down crying, right? She breaks down crying. Like, why would you do this? And also after.
So on that, again, I'm not trying to take either side. I'm just trying to look at the situation. I don't think that if the story goes as we were told, and it was a quid pro quo type of situation, I don't think that it necessarily has to be as dark and grimy as we think of it in order for it to constitute those crimes. And so I could still, despite what she's saying, like despite, or not what she said, but despite the fact that someone would be having an affair with Harvey Weinstein, and then the allegation is that he RPays her, and then they would continue. The nature of why they were having that affair in the first place speaks to, or could speak to, the quid pro quo part of it. So just putting that out there. Shout out to Richard Hardy in the building. So it'll be the first time mainstream media tried to pass off a male to female as the first lady. Oh! Shout out to Big Mike. We also got a Dinkies. Welcome to the party. Very good to see ya. Richard said, my favorite Harvey story is the BS fantasy Brad Pitt tells. I have not heard of that. I guess we're gonna take another side quest, but first, let's shout out our boy, John Castle. Welcome to the party. So what are we talking about here? Let's do Brad Pitt. Nope, that's not that letter. On Harvey Weinstein. All right, let's see what we got.
Thelma, your breakout film, I think, correct me
Is this what you're talking about, Richard?
if I'm wrong, was Thelma and Louise, right? That made you a massive star presence on the horizon. And I don't know whether it's just me or whether you heard from other people that some, certainly women who watched the film, maybe couldn't separate you from the character and found what you did to Thelma just, oh my goodness. Did you ever hear that?
I don't think this is it. Brad Pitt explains why he confronted. All right. Well, let's see. What are you guys saying here real quick? So the main show is Tim Dillon and Candace Owens talking about her work with Brigitte Macron. But Richard brought this up, and I want to see what's good. Josie said Brad Pitt supposedly had to check Harvey because he was being a pig. Okay. Yep, that's the topics for tonight. CT said the Harvey story is messed up. I'm sure he is sleazy and took advantage of his situation, but to call it forced or illegal is wrong. The women got leading roles in Hollywood movies. And that's kind of where Candace seems to be coming from. That maybe there was some squirrely behavior there, but did it rise to the level of illegal, or was it something that was pushed through because of the times? And Bambi agrees. So let's see what they're talking
because
about.
I robbed her?
Yes.
Because my character robbed her? Yeah. Well, that's back to the 70s characters, isn't it? You know, we're all a bit flawed.
What did you like about that film? And this is leading me to somewhere.
Well, first it was, you know, I mean, they let me in the game. That was the first big game. And it's Ridley Scott, who had made Blade Runner and Alien, a couple of my favorites still. And then it's Gina and
what does this have to do? Okay.
I was just, you know.
Cantor and Megan Twohey, who've written She Said, and it's the inside story of Harvey Weinstein and how they reported and broke the news that launched the Me Too movement. And they have a lot of great things to say about Gwyneth Paltrow and how instrumental she was in helping them when they needed to sort of connect the dots and try to find a way to confirm some of the things that he did. And as you know, this has been a huge and important story, and it's rocked Hollywood. But this is what they said about Gwyneth's role, and in relation to that, about your role as well. So I just want to play you a little.
They both suck dick for it.
Soundbite and get your reaction.
The essence of the Gwyneth story is not just about the fact that she says he ended a business meeting at the Peninsula Hotel in Beverly Hills by placing hands on her and saying, let's finish this in the bedroom. The point is, she had been cast in the movie Emma, which was a star-making role. It was a great part, but it hadn't been filmed yet. And after Brad Pitt, her boyfriend at the time, confronted Weinstein, Weinstein called Gwyneth, according to her, and said, "You're going to ruin everything. You're going to screw up your whole career." And she thought she was going to be fired.
So Brad Pitt, it's obviously Gwyneth's story to tell and the reporter's story to tell, but I wonder if you feel, you can add anything to that, because you do come out as, one of the heroes of this story. You confronted a guy that very few people were willing to confront, apparently.
Thank you, Brad Pitt, for afterwards. Not before, afterwards.
Apparently.
Oh, well, I think that's a bit much. I have a couple of things to say. I mean, at that moment, I was just I was a boy from the Ozarks on the playground, and that's how we confronted with things. And
that's exactly, Richard. So the best part of the story is with Gwyneth Paltrow is that she kept making films with him, and that's where she is coming from. Am I watching the right thing? If we're not watching this, then we can go back. But
I mean, that's how we confronted with things. And wanted to make sure nothing happened further, because she was going to do 2 films. I think the interesting thing is that Hollywood specifically, but the workplace, men and women's dynamics is being recalibrated in a very good way. And it's long overdue. And
so I'm going to guess this is not an MPL out here. Where we at? If somebody has a link to what we're actually talking about, that would be awesome. CT said this might be a crazy take, but we haven't had any good movies since Harvey got locked up. We kind of need Harvey to make good movies. Is that true? I mean, I don't disagree that we haven't had any good movies in the last 5 plus years. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's all about Harvey. Richard said, View from the Top in 2003 was the last Weinstein film Paltrow made. But you just said she kept making films. Oh, Brad Pitt kept making films up till 2005. Well, that makes even more sense. You waited like 25 years to go public with this story. Well, he's got a job, right? All of this stuff is hinging upon the fact that Harvey Weinstein's this amazing producer that you want to do whatever you can to get on his good side. And I'm totally fine with saying he's a scumbag. When we get to the legality of it, though, I was definitely caught up in not caught up in the Me Too movement as to say that I was like a believe all women person, but it seemed very easy to look at Harvey Weinstein and then look at a lot of the other stories, like specifically Aziz Ansari, where it was just like a bad date and the girl tried to cancel him. And stuff like that. And it seemed to be like, okay, well, that's not the real ones. Harvey Weinstein is the real one. But you never know. She's like a scarecrow. And that's straight because of her goop. If you get her goop vagina spread, then that's how you stay young. Just said Brad went a full Fight Club on Harvey. Oh, yeah. It doesn't add up. He said Harvey was a genius as far as making movies. And I mean, hey, we got Harvey, we got Roman Polanski, we got Woody Allen. Maybe that's just the secret sauce. You got to be a shitty, scummy in order to make good movies. How do we know? John said she made pussy perfume. I don't care about her sob stories. Ugh. Yeah, I mean, come on. And that's really the question, is that if you, it's always been an open secret in Hollywood what was going on with Weinstein. And so if you go to Hollywood and you're aware of this and you continue and you don't leave, then that's kind of consent, not to a specific incident, but you know what I mean? You're playing the game. You're playing the game. She had something with her, maybe it was vagina scented candles or something. I don't remember. Let's look that up in a second. John said, I don't feel bad for these hoes selling themselves for money and fame. Sometimes there are no good guys. Ooh, very, very true. CD said, I fully recognize that shady stuff happens in Hollyweird, but I'm also a conspiracy theorist, and most artists are weirdos. That's what makes them different. Yeah, let's see. It's definitely a goop thing. So, goop vagina. Oh, wait. Whoa. Oh, thank goodness. We were not on the images page. I was like, I did not think that through. Okay, yeah. Whew. She's got hands up my vagina candles. And this smells like my vagina. I mean, what are we doing? What are we doing? Look at that. I don't even want to know what that candle smells like. Baby said there's still a line between weird and degeneracy. Great. Richard said, assuming their story is true, why stay silent for 25 years? Why wait until all of Hollywood was throwing Harvey under the bus? So again, to try to be charitable, it does make sense that if you feel like you're the only one, which again, I'm not saying that that is the case, but if you feel like you're the only one who this has happened to, then you might just be like, all right, well, what the fuck am I going to do? He's Harvey Weinstein. I can't do anything. But then if there's, hundreds of women coming forward, even though it only ended up being 3, then that could be a reason why, like, okay, now this is the time. Doesn't make it true. I'm just saying that part of it makes sense.
And I do think that's an important story to tell.
Well, I'm glad. And it took a boy from the Ozarks to do that.
Oh, sorry.
To be flown with her friends to Paris. That part she doesn't remember, or when she gets questioned on the stand, she breaks down crying, right? She breaks down crying. Like, why would you do this? And also after she got raped, like brought her mom to meet him. Like, it just gets like, it's a little too much. I know what a sugar baby is, okay? Right. The world knows what sugar babies are.
Mm-hmm. And maybe I don't want to be a sugar daddy and I wouldn't want to interact with the sugar baby type, but it is what it is. I'm more libertarian. Do you? But if that's what you're doing, that's what you are doing.
What a sugar baby is, okay?
Right.
The world knows what sugar babies are. I fully accept that he abused his power. Like, of course, people know you're Harvey freaking Weinstein. You've done the most amazing movies ever. Right. And these women are not sleeping with you because you're Brad Pitt and Troy, right?
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
Full circle. Shout out to Dylan Soup. Welcome to the party. Very good to see you. I'd rather a goop candle than watching feminists paint with their red stuff. Oh, I guess. Will it smell any different? I don't even know.
Right.
And these women are not sleeping with you because you're Brad Pitt and Troy, right?
That's
you know
right.
what I'm saying?
Right.
Whoa. That is a different story. I will happily be a sugar baby. It's just, the other way around. Joyce asking if I followed the Shannon Sharp story. So, peripherally. So, from what I understand, there are allegations from a girl that, was talking about choking and all that stuff. Again, it seems like, opportunist, but I haven't seen enough to make a decision either way. What do you think? What do you think? Which said Harvey, Roman, Woody. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Maybe that is just the dark side of Hollywood and how we get good movies. I don't know.
Ever. Right. And these women are not sleeping with you because you're Brad Pitt and Troy, right?
That's
you know
right.
what I'm saying?
That's right. Yeah.
And so they feel like and then imagine doing that, like you sleep with him, and then afterwards your career doesn't take off. And so I feel these women are trying to rinse themselves of their sins of like, oh no, I didn't sleep with like Harvey Weinstein when I was young. Right. I was raped. When you read these women's emails following their, quote unquote rapes or sexual assaults, you just
shout out to Reagan Johnson. Welcome to the party. Said man grown. Oh, Brigitte Macron. Love it. Dilly to Brigitte Macron. Welcome, Reagan, to the party.
I was raped. When you read these women's emails following their, quote unquote rapes or sexual assaults, you just go,
something's
listen,
up.
I'm not an expert. I know we're in like the age of the experts.
Right.
You know, I'm not an expert on what does and does not qualify rape, but I would like to think that you wouldn't like say, oh, he's like a father to me. Oh, I love him. He's a mentor. He's this. My mom meets. It's like, when you read these emails and read how many there are, you just go, okay, this was something else. Right.
Right.
And like, also you would then be alone with him again over and over in a hotel room. Like, would you not try to avoid the circumstance ever again?
It feels like a incredible stretch to say that somebody who we know abuses power.
Is he slow rolling the sentence to like it's somebody who abuses their power would get caught?
Somebody who we know abuses power and, you know, was not acting in a moral or upstanding way, or, you know, was probably aggressive and did things that nobody would support, should just be
just a little bit, just for a second. I'll bring you right back.
Convicted on the basis of a general vibe instead of a specific set of provable allegations.
Right.
Which
I did think he was going to make a joke there. See, just how long do you think the Douglas Murray, I'm not an expert joke will last? I don't even know if that is what they're doing. I think it's just so common for people in this space. I think right or left, maybe more often on the right, but right or left. I think that is a common thing to acknowledge. No, I'm not an expert. I'm just giving my opinion. That's what I do here. I'm not an expert, but I'm giving my opinion. And that's a big reason why I didn't resonate with what Douglas Murray was saying, because I don't think it's a joke. It's just people acknowledging reality and not trying to be portrayed as someone who is saying I am an expert. I don't even know if it's a reference to that. It's people, you know, people have always said that. I'm no expert, but this, that, whatever, you know? That is smart. That is smart. Well, and that's, I mean, hey, that's another good reason to have a camera going. That's a good reason to have a camera going. It's like, I just wanted to make sure this is above board. Nobody's ever going to see it. I might replay it sometimes, but if it's on video, you're good.
Instead of a specific set of provable allegations.
Right.
Which I think is where you landed on this.
Yeah. And I landed on that and had said that publicly on Twitter. And then that was before the appellate court reversed the decision. So
You beaten that?
Said it. And then a few months ago, Harvey Weinstein's decision got overturned in New York. And the appellate judges said the exact same thing. They were like, this was a kangaroo court. I mean, I don't understand.
Hold on. John said, I've refused to get violent. It's crazy to ask for that in all seriousness. So what are we, what exactly, what exactly are we saying here? That you like, if a girl asked you to choke her, that you wouldn't even like play around? Because it's crazy? I mean, it's pretty common. So I don't know. It's pretty common. Every girl I've ever been with likes it.
In New York, and the appellate judges said the exact same thing. They were like, this was a kangaroo court. I mean, I don't understand. They were allowing anyone to come into the court and say whatever. You would get like a former assistant that was like, I was there one time and, you know, him and his brher got into a fight.
Yeah.
Like, just like character assassination in the courtroom.
I was a juror on a murder trial, and they at one time.
Hey, a hand works at any angle.
They were like, you cannot bring up other things this defendant did.
Exactly.
We are trying this defendant on these set of allegations and nothing else.
Right. They let it with Harvey Weinstein and let anyone, you could say, you know, he took my pencil in 8th grade.
Right.
It was just a full character assassination that had nothing to do.
Have you spoken to him?
Yeah. And I speak to Harvey.
Yeah. And how did,
not only have I spoken, she says, I speak to Harvey, she says.
Does he feel that one human being on earth is trying to, you know, shed light on this case?
You know, he called me.
Am I wrong? You're it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And he called me and he thanked me I mean, hasn't had this much hope in years. And, he'd been listening to his lawyers for a long time. Don't talk to anyone. Don't say anything. And that was part of the struggle of bringing this story forward, because they're like, well, you don't want to blow your chances. And I said to him, listen, I don't think your lawyers understand. You're in prison because you lost the public war. You know what I mean?
Right.
Me Too was they were just hanging people publicly.
Right.
And if you don't.
That's something that I again, looking back, I think it was more purposeful, whether there were actual issues, legal issues or not. I think it's very clear that they used Harvey Weinstein as like, this is the one we all agree on. We all agree that Harvey Weinstein is bad, but there's all this other stuff too, and let's focus on that. Again, I don't know. I haven't looked into anything that she's talking about. I'm just listening and reacting. But she's making sense. She's making sense. Fuck the TOS. Fuck the TOS. I don't give a shit. John said one lady wanted to legit fight, like full-on punching. Okay, that you don't want to do. That you don't want to do. But that's why I'm asking, what are we considering violence? Because you're just choking a bitch. Like, that's pretty vanilla. I mean, I'm a pretty boring dude. I'm not like super kinky or whatever. I'm trying to get it in, Sorry if I'm a little boring, but love to choke a good girl. Abe said, she really makes me wonder. I said, shit, me too. Joey said, I believe Candace, but I'm sure Harvey abused his power. Again, we all agree on that. And even Candace was saying there's no question that he was a scumbag and that he abused his power. The question is the legality, the actual, legal convictions. John said, I'm reformed. I don't even condone premarital stuff anymore. I'm embarrassed. All right. Well, I mean, fair enough. But I don't know if it's crazy. You said it was crazy for somebody to ask for that. I don't know if that's crazy. It's just not your thing. And he said, what? How much before did she insinuate? Because if you knew more than 15 minutes, I do not know what that says. All right, never back in.
Public war. You know what I mean?
Right.
Me Too was they were just hanging people publicly.
Right.
And if you don't actually get out what happened, and he was just elated, like for the first time he had hope. And the thing that's so sad that people don't realize, and I don't know how these women sleep at night, is he has kids. He has kids that are growing up, and they are being told that their father is a rapist. Not your father is a bad man and a moral man. Your father abused his power. All those things might be true, but a rapist, which is something totally different. And I just don't understand how people can sleep at night because
Well, I will say that if we're talking about the perception that children have of their father, is it really that much worse? It's certainly worse. But is it that much worse to just say, okay, well, he abused his power to sleep with all these women versus, you know what I mean? Like, I hear you, but like, how do you sleep at night? I don't think it's that serious.
He denies that. He says, I am not a rapist.
No, he's denied it from the very beginning. And he's admitted, I've had affairs. Why'd you pay him off? He's like, because I was cheating on my wife nonstop at the peninsula. And so when these women came and were like, well, you better pay me, I paid some of them off, obviously.
Right.
But when you read the emails, it is ridiculous. It defies common sense to believe that anyone would communicate like that for years and years after they were allegedly assaulted or they were allegedly raped, and they all were.
Yeah, I'm saying there's a fine line, and I think that is exactly why it was so easy. If it was the case that they just hung him out to dry and all this stuff is bullshit, that is why it's so it was so effective, because everybody's scared to tread on the wrong side of that line, and sometimes it's not necessarily comfortable to say, we know that we don't like this guy. We know that he did bad things, but it wasn't illegal, or at least it wasn't what they said it was. So I'm very much looking forward to whatever, she comes out about this, for no other reason than I just want to have an understanding. Going back to the Macron stuff, the Macron stuff, that I just want to have an understanding of how much are they actually lying to us? How much? How far will they go? How much of our world, our reality, is fabricated? And he said, I think it is that serious. You literally ruined his life when you only claim rape after you get your end of the deal. Stupid horse. I mean, it's a tough one. It's a tough one. And again, I would have to look at the specifics to be able to tell, and I haven't done that. So shout out to Candace for doing so.
Years and years after they were allegedly assaulted or they were allegedly raped. And
this one, I 1000% agree with. Women making false claims should get the same sentence as the claim they made. 1000%. Absolutely. There should be a accountability in the things that you say. Remember, freedom of speech doesn't mean freedom of consequences. That should apply across the board. Shout out to David Hayter. Welcome to the party. Very good to see you. Thank you for being here. And shout out to Josie with the $4.99. Thank you. Said the only choking all this chat is gonna do is choke on their own meat. Not me, but hey, if that's what you're into, that's what you're into. Thank you so very, very much. And of course, that is our first super chat. Let's hit that goal. Guys, remember, it doesn't just have to be, it could be any amount. And if we get 15 or we hit $50, that's the goal. 10 push-ups for me and bulk me up. I'm too puny. Welcome. Thank you again. Let's dive right back in.
For years and years after
and of course, Josie, that makes you the new sponsor of the stream. Thank you so much.
Believe that anyone would communicate like that for years and years after they were allegedly assaulted or they were allegedly raped, and they all were looking for careers. They're all in the industry. They're all asking him for tickets, and he was the guy, and he got them the tickets, by the way.
We watched the Kevin Spacey doc, and where these guys were like, well, he was inappropriate, but then I went to his apartment. It's like, what are you doing? You're trying to get something, and fine, but then you can't turn around and go, this guy ruined my life, because it does feel like there is a fair amount of revisionist history. Or Monday morning quarterbacking. Again, not Harvey Weinstein. We're not saying it's like the moral paragon of whatever.
He's not Justin Baldoni. Like, it's not like a case where you're like, this guy was just such an amazing person.
No, of course.
But people need to be nuanced.
Into that one too.
Yeah, that one really got me angry.
I was kind of barely paying attention to that one.
Yeah.
Because what are they talking about?
Because I'm kind of like, I paid attention a little bit to Depp Heard, and then I felt this was kind of a Depp Heard sequel.
Oh, it was so much worse. He did nothing. He just did nothing.
And what was the motivation?
I just think
for Blake Lively to do this.
Oh, okay.
I think for a very long time.
Gotcha. So they're talking about the Blake Lively lawsuit with I think it was director or whatever it was. And they were going back and forth. Yeah, I'm with Tim Dillon. I didn't see a lot of this. So.
The motivation.
I just think
for Blake Lively to do this.
I think for a very long time, we just as a society didn't realize Ryan Reynolds was a psychopath.
Interesting.
And because he was kind of playing himself as Deadpool, and people thought it was kind of funny. And then something triggered him about Justin Baldoni, and he went on an absolute tear to destroy every layer of this man's life. And his wife wanted to control the movie. She admitted as much on stage. Just that's what she does. She pretends she just wants to act, but she's really there because she wants to take over movies. And just the length that they went through to destroy this. Yeah. I think it's like you see a puppy, you can, and Ryan was just like, I can do it.
Listen to it, because when Candace goes through it.
Another Jewish guy I'm defending. Yeah, it's just like, and nobody cares. I feel like now she's still hit
petition for you to get in the war.
Shout out to you guys who correctly answered the other poll of, is Candace anti-Semitic? Even though 30% of you did say yes. The other 60, I guess it doesn't split evenly. The other 69% of you know what's good.
Word from several Jewish organizations.
ADL
we haven't heard back.
Me.
But I when you go through this, what's interesting is that I'm the weirdly Hollywood adjacent. I've done one movie. It was the worst movie ever, Joker 2. Shout out to everyone who ruined that. And I said, everyone goes,
I didn't see it. Did you guys see the second Joker? I didn't even bother. CT223 said, I went to middle school with Jennifer Lawrence. She got by Harvey. Kind of sucks. Hope she's okay, but she had a great career. They say money don't buy happiness, but I mean, I know a lot of people who could be made happy with a pile of money. and fame.
Are you think they're mad at you for saying how bad it was? I go, what am I going to do? I make a living with my fucking mouth. I'm going to lie and go, no, it's great. It's great that the Joker's doing show tunes. Isn't that what everyone wants? Isn't that what everyone wants is show tunes?
Put a 1 in the chat if you did see Joker 2.
With, so I was in like one movie. And again, I don't like, I'm plugged in, but you from the total outside, this is what's very interesting. As somebody who's really on the outside, you see things better in a lot of these situations than people that are in it, because you have this detachment where you can go, wait a minute, what's going on? Where you're like, because I just heard, I'm like, oh, I guess there's some weird, I didn't think he was like super guilty, but I'm like, some weirdness on set, whatever, kind of ignored it, move on. But you're like, no, this was a complete attempt to destroy this man's life.
Yeah, it was.
Well, that's because you're not a woman or a liberal.
Bad. He put him in the hospital.
Yeah.
And he is the most frustrating person because he never once fought back for himself. Like, he genuinely.
What do you think that is? Because he's being told by people, just don't say anything.
So here's the thing. A lot of people, most people I would think in Hollywood are a lot like Ryan and Blake, where they pretend to be good people by giving money and virtue signaling. And like, I give to this cause, I care about this, or like, I'm a male feminist, and they're not.
Well, this is, I forget who was talking about this, but they were directly referencing when Zuckerberg most recently went on JRE. I think it was Dave Smith, actually, talking about this fake aesthetic that celebrities these days have, where it used to be that if you're rich and powerful, you got nice suits, you drive nice cars, you're flashy and this and that. Excuse me, but there is a desire to be like nonchalant about that. Like, yeah, I'm rich, but I still wear just plain t-shirts and whatever. And I think there is a similar phenomenon with just the general aura, as the kids say, that because everything is, well, not everything, but so many people are online, and we have a much different relationship with the celebrity is even still not a word that really fits, but for lack of a better term, the relationship we have with celebrities now compared to the way it was in, before social media, it was much easier for you to just be in the movies, and then we didn't really think about you unless you were on Johnny Carson or whatever. But because, there's constantly content coming out, if you're not doing that, then you're not getting the same level of attention as other people. And when you do put videos out that say this, or Instagram posts, or whatever it is, of course, there is the need to blend in with the crowd and virtue signal. It happens all the way around.
And virtue signaling, and like, I give to this cause, I care about this, or like, I'm a male feminist, and they're not. He actually is all of those things.
Right.
Like, he actually is.
Right.
He just takes it from people, and I need to be better, and he's constantly just like hitting himself over the head. Like, I need to be better. I went through his Instagram page, and I like suffered from PTSD with how nice he was. I didn't like it. It was like, it was like way too nice. I'm just like, just one time stand up for yourself.
Right. Yeah.
When a woman's like, men shouldn't speak. He's like, you're right. We just shouldn't. I'm like, no, you can speak. And
we can speak. Yay. Shout out to Tech. Welcome to the party. Very good to see ya. We are talking about Candace Owens proving that Brigitte Macron is a man and a pedo, and now maybe Harvey Weinstein is not as guilty as we thought. Welcome to the party.
Men shouldn't speak. He's like, you're right. We just shouldn't. I'm like, no, you can speak. And so I just knew right away. I think I'm a person that I lived through enough when I was young that I kind of had to sharpen my ability to read people very quickly. Like a basic survival skill. So that's probably more of just the things I saw when I was little.
Right.
And so I had to wise up real quick, and I got to read people, and I know how to read. I think that's my one like superhuman skill is I'm just like, don't trust that one. Don't. And Blake Lively, I'm just like, your best friend is Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
Don't trust that one.
Right.
Like, she's been moving and has gotten away with it for years. Like, victimizing people while pretending she's a victim.
I know.
Yup. Shout out to Thomas Erickson. Welcome. Said who's controlled opposition? Candace or what are we talking about? Welcome to the party.
Right.
Like, she's been moving and has gotten away with it for years. Like, victimizing people while pretending she's a victim.
I know things.
Everybody knows things about Taylor Swift.
I will say know things that Taylor Swift and her mother have left messages on other pop stars' phones threatening them.
No, they're like, Everybody knows this. They'll eventually come out. Come at her. Come at her. Come at him, bro.
Yeah, or her.
Okay, or her.
The Swifties will not let you talk about that.
Come at me, bro. I don't even care.
Come at Brigitte or Michelle Trogneau.
Or me or Tim.
Yeah, but listen, the reality is
she's vicious. She is vicious. And so for Blake and her to be best friends right away, and I've known Blake is really just like, there's just very surface. She's never had to work for anything in her life. She's not.
Well, a Hollywood actress is not very deep? You don't say. Hey, we got Hondo in the chat. Welcome to the party. Please save us from insanity if you can. I am doing my best. And you are helping by being here. Thank you so very much for stopping by. Hope you are doing well tonight.
Blake is really just like, there's just very surface. She's never had to work for anything in her life. She's not talented. Everything gets handed to her, and she's quite mean to people. Everyone knows
she's
that.
That role she played on Gossip Girl.
She is. That's actually, and that's what I'm saying. And he's actually Deadpool. So, I just knew right away that
I definitely believe that Ryan Reynolds is Deadpool in the sense that, like, he is that guy. That it's not a playing up of the sarcasm. I really think that Ryan Reynolds, maybe even justifiably, thinks that his shit don't stink. He's not because it's true, but because, he looks like that. He's rich. Everybody loves him, so on and so forth.
And she's quite mean to people. Everyone knows
she's that role she played on Gossip Girl.
She is. That's actually, and that's what I'm saying. And he's actually Deadpool. So, I just knew right away that the power dynamics and the fact that she was like trying to do Me Too, but Me Too was years ago. She did like a little too late.
Right, she was
a little too late to the Me Too party. She came up, she arrived fashionably late to the Me Too party, but the party was over. You know what I mean? And I just went, I think I need to hear a little more here. This isn't like, it's not passing the vibe check. So and then when Brian Friedman,
think about Ellen DeGeneres is the perfect example of this. She made her whole brand about be nice or whatever it was, like I'm nice or whatever the fuck her shit was, and just a terrible person. Just a terrible person. But if you think about who these people actually are, unfortunately, we do share a species with them. They are human beings. And while, of course, not everybody who has money and fame turns into a shithead, it kind of happens a lot. And so there's a reason now that everybody's looking into every aspect of a celebrity's life to put forth this virtue signaling character. A lot of them are actors. That's what they do. Hondo says she fled not because of Trump, but because of Diddy going down, and she is implicated. I've heard that from a number of people. We will see. Or maybe they'll never release any kind of documents, but they're definitely going to court. That's for sure. And we're gonna see. Hey, shout out to Guam Tech. There we go. The Morty giveth and taketh away. I'm really the guy. Either way, thank you so very, very much. That's 2 out of 15, guys. Remember, we've changed the rules for the Swole Goal. We can hit 15 super chats of any amount, 99 cents counts, or if we hit $50 in total. Let's do it. Let's bulk me up. Thank you again, Guam Tech. Very much appreciated. We also got our boy Avery. Welcome to the party. Very good to see you. Listen, I wouldn't turn into a shithead because I already am one. I'm not going to argue with you there. We joke. And hey, 19 months. Oh my goodness. So these are definitely not counting for the Swole Goal, but we will give Morty a treat for the member chats. Thank you so much. 19 months as a disciple. Very much appreciated. Josie said Jeremy Piven got canceled because people really thought he was Ari Gold in real life, when in reality he's a sweetheart of a guy. Yeah, that was a little bit before I was paying attention to, like the news. I had opinions on like the broader cultural issues, but that was before my time in politics. And from what I've heard, that was the first example of what we saw over and over again during Me Too and the Believe All Women and Time's Up and all that stuff. He's been on a number of podcasts where like the question comes up of like, so why did you get canceled so hard? And basically, it's exactly what Josie is saying, that people just had a belief and then he got blackballed. Crazy. I said, never trust anyone who disguises themselves as a sweet, innocent little deer. They are hiding something. Nobody is that sweet. Maybe Nick. Shout out to Nick. Everybody else. Very much sweet, a little equal salty. Fair enough. I will take that.
This isn't like, it's not passing the vibe check. And then when Brian Friedman, who is like my favorite person right now, just like said F that, like read every single text message online. It was incredible. You got to do it. You actually have to sit down and do it because it's very scary. It's like shockingly like terrifying that Ryan Reynolds is just like allowed to be a person in life.
What?
Well, here's what's interesting. And this is what I think is this connective tissue that you have between a lot of the stories you're doing. One of the things I think that it fascinates you, and it kind of fascinates me, and it's interesting, is what can you get people to believe?
Apparently anything.
This, I feel like, from consuming some of your content, watching your stuff, what can you pass yourself off as? What can you get people to believe? How? Because here's what I think.
Shout out to Zippy DSM Lee. Welcome to the party. Very good to see you, sir. Shout out to the mowing. As much as I appreciate the fact that my development, they have landscapers come through. Sometimes I want to sleep in and they start really early, but I'll take it over having to mow my own lawn. Is that for me? Okay, yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. There is a part of you that obviously we disagree with what people are doing, but you almost got to give it to them in a little bit. You're impressed by the elaborate hoax and the production value of it, even though it has gaping holes in it where you go in and go, wait a minute, this is wrong. But I've always been amazed at what could get sold and how it's been sold.
There is an IDTV element of it.
Yeah.
Where you're like, a crime happened.
Right.
And this person like almost got away with it.
Yes.
And it was elaborate. And the planning that went into this, like Ryan Reynolds, the New York Times, sitting down, planning this, how to get someone's cell phone by pretending you have a different lawsuit. Like there's so many elements. I'm like, this is a true crime story.
It does kind of seem a little like she's trying to push it into that that category. I'm not saying, that she's just, talking out her ass, but I need to see a little bit more first.
And at the same time, this person was just like allowed to exist in the public and pretend to be a good person because like he gave to AmFAR and BLM like that. There's a psychological element. And I do think that one of my interests is like my natural interest is psychology. It's why I'm interested in all of these psychological programs the government used to run, like Chaos, and how easy it is to socially engineer a mind. It's so easy. Like our minds are so malleable.
That is one of the biggest things that I learned in college. If you're not familiar, I went to school for psychology, and as much as there is a ton of bullshit in psychology, it is absolutely a soft science. And while there are real, tangible, scientific, hard science results within the field of psychology, most of it is bullshit. But what is not is exactly what she's just talking about: how easily you can be convinced of something that's not true, how easily your perception of something can be manipulated. The notion that I saw something, or I felt something, or I experienced something, and therefore it is true, is something that makes so much sense to our conscious experience, but so often just is not the case. We all know that as strong as eyewitness testimony can be in court, it is often very unreliable, and that is psychology.
How easy it is to socially engineer a mind. It's so easy. Like our minds are so malleable. And that's why even when I have these moments where I check myself, like the Harvey Weinstein case, because I thought he was so guilty, it kind of scared me about myself, because I was like, oh my God, Candace, you have been so good about making sure that your mind is not being manipulated. And even you fell for one. And I was vocally anti-Me Too. But I was like, oh yeah.
Okay. But that's a weird thing to be like, well, even I fell for something one time. I mean, we're all going to fall for something eventually. Why would you think that because you're skeptical and because you've read a lot that you wouldn't be able to be. You were just talking about how easily the mind is malleable. So I think you have to expect that some at any given point, some of the things that I believe are true are false. Full stop.
Harvey Weinstein is definitely guilty. That one's I don't have to look into that.
I think a lot of people that think they know a lot know very little, and it's very surprising to me. I've met people that have gone to the best schools and they have risen to positions of prominence in society. They're not
like Emmanuel Macron,
intelligent. They're incredibly capable. They're savvy in their own business. They're tremendously competent. They've made vast sums of money. They are incredibly, sharp. But if you take them out of that world and you just ask them to process some of the things that we've talked about today, they're at a complete loss.
Oh, yeah. I think the longer you stay in school, the dumber you become.
Yeah.
I do think that there is a common sense street element that gets completely lost when you're just trying to add a bunch of degrees to your life. And
that's why the conversation with somebody who is well educated and has different opinions is so difficult, because they've been trained to believe that what they've been told is the only truth, and that if there's something else, then it must be wrong, and it must be because you're stupid. Whereas it's very on the other side, it's very clear that there's some things that numbers do not tell the story. No study can tell you, I don't know off the top of my head, but certain things, and the understanding that if you do X, then Y will happen. We don't need a study for every little thing. Sometimes, yes, we absolutely need science. We need somebody who knows what the fuck they're talking about to actually make an experiment where it's you can replicate it and get, but not always.
Certifications, and that's why when we get into this expert problem,
right,
where they just were like, I don't know how I got it wrong on COVID,
right,
and then there was this clip of Andrew Tate speaking about COVID, where he's like, if you're on the block and somebody comes up to you and they're like, eat this cheeseburger, I just really want you to eat this cheeseburger, you just instinctively know, I'm good, right, you're
that's a weird but really good example. Because you can make the argument that, even if change it to, instead of a cheeseburger, change it to something sealed. So a packet of gum or a piece of candy. If somebody is offering that to you, then the argument could be made. Well, this is a sealed piece of whatever. There's the FDA that goes through this. There's all OSHA, but still, no study is going to tell you why it's sus to be taking food from strangers. Exactly, Guamtech. Well educated, poorly experienced. Well said. Well said. And Josie, education puts sidelines and doesn't let you explore outside the doctrine, and it's really sad to see. And I would have hoped, maybe more in hindsight than understanding as I was there, but I looking back, I would have hoped that in the psychology world, or being a psychology student, that you wouldn't necessarily be that blinded because of the fact that it's not a hard science. Whereas if you're a mathematician and somebody's trying to tell you 2 + 2 = 5, well, that's a much easier thing to be like, that's just not what it is. But if you're in psychology, then it doesn't make sense that you're so what's the word? Dogmatic to the orthodoxy, when the orthodoxy isn't even well established yet. And that doesn't mean that I don't think psychology has a role. I just think it's way over relied on. Hondo said, my ex-wife was from the UK. She used to call me Zippy when she was 3 bottles of red down. There you go. Shout out to the ex.
Cheeseburger. I just really want you to eat the cheeseburger. You just instinctively know, I'm good.
Right.
You're trying real
Terrence Howard
hard to get me in a way that's it's free. Just take it. It's free.
Right.
And what he's speaking to is street smarts. And that gets lost when you're just kind of off the streets and in the academia. And that you see that a lot. And they just keep the experts just kind of keep getting it wrong because they're missing that common sense element. And you realize that if you want to trick an expert, just put it in an expert book. Like they wake up every day and they're like, well, the New York Times couldn't possibly lie to me. And I've read the article in the New York Times. And the New York Times says that Justin Baldoni is basically akin to a rapist. So I'm just, obviously it's true.
Therefore, it must be true.
Or give them a big bag of money. Giving a big bag of money tends to work too.
That also
a nice expert book and a big bag of money works. And listen, there are obviously people in society that know more about things than other people. There are people that are trained in a degree in a field, but then there's also a lot of people that are bought, are being controlled.
I'm in politics. Yeah, I know. Are you kidding me? I've seen it over and over again. It's sad to watch too, because they don't start like that.
No.
You know, I've been with people and come up in politics with them, and they're great and they're motivated by all the right things. And then I think what happens is you don't realize you become a part of a certain class and you feel like you can't go against it. Like there's like the cult of politics that happens.
Right.
And they won't critique certain things that they know to be wrong.
Right.
Which is crazy to me.
Right.
But then there's also the other side of that, where it's like, just because you agree with something that falls in line with, you know, the narrative or the agenda or whatever, that you're a sycophant and, whatever Trump says, you're going to go along with it. No, I just like this thing. And you'll get people just chalking up your entire argument to, well, it's because Trump said it. And it's much easier to make that argument than to defend against it. It's much easier to just throw ad hominems and, do what they do. John said it's really crazy how easy it is to get into expert fields if you just follow orders and keep your head down. Yeah, I mean, my plan was, because I always knew that I wanted to do something with psychology. I think it was in 8th grade, the first time I took human behaviors courses. Then I took AP psychology in high school, and I was really all about it. I had every intention on going, getting my bachelor's, then getting a master's, and then becoming a PhD and becoming the next Dr. Drew. But it didn't quite work out like that because it's not even close to what I thought it was going to be. I've told you guys about how when I was in school, I did an internship at Self-Deletion Hotline, and that was a lot of fun. But that was probably the most anything that I did in the world of psychology, and it was just volunteer people sitting. It was in a church, and it was at night. And I mean, obviously the hotline was there all day, but I would go at night, and you're just sitting, hanging out, and if somebody calls, you just chit chat with them. And I felt like that was doing so much more than anything else that I tried. After I graduated, I had another internship at a substance abuse facility. I'm thinking, this is right like in the height of my addiction. So I'm thinking, if anybody could help these people, it's certainly me. I know what they're going through. But even with that mentality, even with the desire to really help people who were dealing with addiction issues, nobody wanted the help. And nobody wanted to help. And I understand that it was a low level thing, but everybody there was not looking for therapy, not looking for help. They were court ordered to be there. And all the therapists knew that was the case. So they didn't give a shit about the people. And it was bad. It was a bad environment. And it scared me off forever. Where we at? Hondo said, I wish Trump had put Candace in his administration. I mean, he hired Omarosa and put her in there. They go way back. I don't know. I feel like Candace is better outside of the government. I think we need her here where she's not part of the government. They said, imagine Candace as press secretary. Our current press secretary is doing a great job. I wouldn't be mad at that. But again, I think it allows her a lot more freedom to not be there. I'd rather have the private sector Candace than the government sector. I don't understand. I was rooting for Alex Jones for that. Yeah, I kind of agree with Bambi. I don't know if he'd be the best person for that. Candace won a great. I don't know about that. I don't know. Well, I mean, I don't really have a reason to say no. I just don't have a reason to say yes. John said, my parents were both substance abuse counselors and therapists. I grew up in the back of group sessions and AA meetings. So you know exactly what the fuck I'm talking about, where everybody there knows that they're just going through the motions. And I understood that there was probably going to be some aspect of, you know, paying your dues and going at that level. But it just, it drained the life out of me. And I just looked at, like, is this, because a lot of the counselors that were there were, you know, grown-ass people. It's not like they were right out of college. And I was just like, I don't think this could be my life. I can't do this. Shout out to Arjun. Welcome to the party. Let's dive back in with Candace and Tim talking about a bunch of different conspiracies.
Critique certain things that they know to be wrong.
Right.
Which is crazy to me.
Right.
Because
what do you say to people that go, Candace Owens, rabidly anti-Semitic, sees Jewish conspiracy theories everywhere. There is that.
Whoa, Candace catching strays now? I mean, she is pregnant. And I don't know if you're one of those people, but I don't think men can get pregnant.
Sees Jewish conspiracy theories everywhere. There is that, you know, narrative.
Yeah, I think we could, like, the whole idea that, like, anti-Semitism is on the rise. Like, my basic PR advice would just be maybe stop.
Really quick, guys. Let's try this one more time. If you guys are enjoying the show, the party rages on 24/7 over in our Discord. The link is pinned to the top of the chat and is absolutely free to join 24/7. We're in there hanging out, having a great time. And guys, it is absolutely free. However, if you are a member of this channel here on YouTube, you can scroll right below that video and hit that join button. Starts at $2.99. There's a few different tiers, but $2.99 will get you in. It gets you members only live streams here on YouTube, all that other good stuff. But it opens up the full Discord server. So we've got the free chat that is open to anyone. Anybody can join and talk. But as you can see, that is just one of our channels. There's a bunch of different channels here, including our Disciple chat for members only, our Word of the Day watch party, where we're talking about all this stuff. And of course, we have the voice channel here, where we are hanging out at this moment. Shout out to everybody in the Discord server. Say hello and tell them to come and join. There you go, guys. Simple as that. See you there. All right. See you there. Shout out to TV Viewerski in the building. Welcome to the party. Very good to see ya. Bammy said the lady with 3 kids and currently pregnant is a man. That's what I'm saying. But we have pictures of her being pregnant. We don't have any pictures of Macron being pregnant, having holding a baby, being a woman before a certain age. So, you know, a little bit different. Big Mike was pregnant too. Not while. Do we have? Michelle Obama pregnant. Let's see. Do we have? See, like, again, with Macron, this is all Candace was asking for. Let's see. I'm not seeing anything. So, of course, the conclusion here is not that a man can get pregnant, but that they are both men. Yikes! Where are we at? There you go. Big Mike 2028. No, thank you. True, but it's convenient that there was not a single picture there. I mean, me too. Shout out to the Short King. You know what I mean? Dilly. All right, diving back in.
Rise, like, my basic PR advice would just be maybe stop blowing up children, Bibi Netanyahu, and see if it decreases. I'm not an expert.
Not helping.
I'm not an expert.
Certainly not helping.
But I
see right there. I don't know. I don't think that's a Douglas Murray thing. I think she's just saying that as, like, a thing that we all say as not being experts, talking about things that we don't have expertise in. I'm not an expert, but
I do think that where you think you see anti-Semitism, it may just be a humane response to children being blown up for like 2 years straight.
There should be a way to acknowledge that there's a human toll of that war that is, I think is becoming.
I was supposed to say again, I'm not an expert.
No, of course. But I mean, listen.
Okay, I think that was a Douglas Murray joke.
At the end of the day, I think the vast majority of people look at that situation and say, this is terrible. It's unsustainable. We're supporting it. We're funding it. It needs to end.
Right.
And, some people have caught more flack than others for saying it.
Oh boy, we got a new poll, and it is stripped down. Stripped down. There is no context. Just pick one. Shout out to Indy Bell. Welcome to the party. Very good to see you, sir. John said it doesn't matter that much. We know Obama is a liar regardless. Macaroni matters because he is pacifying one of the most rebellious populations with lies and propaganda. Not that I care, but I'd care if I was French. There you go. That is a very interesting point. And to Taco's point earlier, why are we talking about this? Because it's just interesting. There's other new stuff going on. But as I've said so many times, this is not a news channel. This is a culture channel about discussion and being able to talk with people we disagree with. So this falls squarely in my wheelhouse.
Some people have caught more flack than others for saying it. There's clearly anti-Semites. There's clearly people that believe whatever.
Hondo says we need to grow this live audience. New rule. Share the show with at least 3 friends every show and give it a like. Exactly, guys. Remember, it doesn't even matter if you think anybody's going to click on the link that you share. Just by sharing the link and hitting the like button, those free things, free, help out so very, very much.
For saying it. There's clearly anti-Semites. There's clearly people that believe whatever, Holocaust denial, whatever. There's clearly people on that side of the spectrum. But there are also people that are pointing out, a very real problem with, like you said, the massive
that was my
infanticide.
Crime. That was my crime. I mean, there's no way that you're trying to sell right now that I'm trying to free Harvey Weinstein, who gave more money to the ADL, who has me on a list, by the way, while he was alive. Every Jewish cause he's given money to. And Steve Sarowitz.
You mean October?
And Justin Belden. These are all Ashkenazi Jews. They leave all that off the table because they're trying to conflate critique of Israel with just being Jewish, which is bullshit, semantic obfuscation, and a way to shut down arguments without actually having them. Shout out to Charismatic Fiend. So they are all inverts. It's a big cult and club. Who's they? Who are we talking about, Willis? But either way, welcome to the party. They're trying to conflate critique of Israel with just being Jewish, which is absurd.
Right.
And I'm sorry, it's just stupid. I'm over it. I don't care anymore. I don't even defend myself against it because it's just so overdone. We were like that place, and when BLM just went too far and everything was racist.
Well, that's the other thing.
You're just saying everybody in power is fucking around with their gender because they're bored and they're rich. Is that what I'm getting? The transes, the androgynous? I believe it. Johnson, France has intelligence agencies that rival the CIA and Mossad, but people don't talk about that much. So any weirdness or lies is a big red flag. Bingo. You got it.
That place, and when BLM just went too far and everything was racist.
Well, that's the other thing. I think in the beginning, a lot of people were like, yes, let's look at the way police behave.
Right.
And let's look at the way they behave in minority communities. Let's look at the way they behave across the board. We're a free country. We have a Second Amendment. We have people that have guns, are free, have autonomy. And if, police are going to have to also understand how to treat people that are, Americans, right? So I think a lot of people are like, Let's take a look at all of that. And then it went so overboard. It went to defund. It went to abolish.
Then it was suddenly like, if you're white and you wear your hair in braids, apologize. And people are like, you know what, I'm done.
Right.
And we're now at like hair and braids apologize on the anti-Semitism thing. And everyone's just kind of done with it.
Exhausted.
And no one cares.
And everyone's exhausted.
Yeah. And I certainly want to be clear. I literally don't care if you are going to call me anti-Semite because I've noticed a lot of kids are getting blown up.
Yeah.
Yep. And there's bigger issues than whether or not you have this particular belief. Mammy said, no, they're trying to normalize transgender to ease in transhuman. Makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. You got a spoon or a breadcrumb it, right? Hey, shout out to TV Viewerski with a $10 PayPal. Thank you, thank you, thank you so very, very much. And of course, that does count towards our swole goal. Not only the amount, but the super chat as well. So we are 1/5 of the way there, guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And of course, that makes you the new sponsor of the stream. And we will give that to Morty at TV Viewerski's request. Thank you, thank you, thank you so very, very much, sir.
Literally don't care if you are going to call me anti-Semite because I've noticed a lot of kids are getting blown up. That's ridiculous. But there's also an entitlement that that I've been trying to comprehend lately, because there are people who think that if you get called a name because you're Jewish, it's somehow like, is this your first day on the internet? As soon as you are on the internet, when they figure out what you are, you're going to get called the thing. Like every day I wake up, I log into Twitter, and I'm called the N-word. Like that's just like, I've just come to it. Like that just has to happen because that's how the internet works.
Right.
And there are some people that are so fragile that like, and when I say some people, I mean, quite literally people that have texted me a screenshot, like a troll account, being like, look what this person said about Jews.
Right.
You're a 45-year-old man who runs a satire business, Seth.
Right.
What are you like? What is this? Have you never? Is this your first day on the internet? Do you know how many times I've?
Are they talking about the Babylon Bee? Did she mention that? I didn't. I must have missed that. Where are we at here? Basically saying they're trying to normalize transgender to ease in transhumanism. It's funny. I'm gonna assume y'all talking to yourself. Charismatic fiends, so they don't try to hide it. It's obvious. Look into male and female anatomy. I've learned about that. Yeah, pretty familiar. Penis, vagina, that whole thing. Shout out to Dippy DSM Lee with the $1 Rumble Ram. Thank you, thank you, thank you so very, very much. Said Christ was trans. Divine? No, not the water gun. Kitty, no, likes water. I know, has a swimsuit. And my birthday suit burns the eyes. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, thank you, thank you so very, very much. And of course, that adds to the swole goal, guys. Let's bulk me up. Thank you, thank you, thank you, sir.
Business, Seth.
Right.
What are you like? What is this? Have you never? Is this your first day on the internet? Do you know how many times I've been called?
Yes.
Like, if you can't deal with that, you gotta log off. You know what I mean?
The internet is the internet.
The internet. It's a place for trolling. They want to find out what is your attribute, so I can call you the thing, right? And this starts when kids are playing Game Boys and there's a little chat. I mean, they're playing. What's that game where there's the?
What's a ton of them? Fortnite. Does any of that, right?
I don't know. I don't game, but they read the chats. They're insane.
Right.
That's the internet, right? And so they have to kind of know the difference between, well, I've never seen so many people saying names, because Jordan Peterson has taken this stance too, and I'm like, is this everybody's first
he's
time?
Against name calling?
Oh my gosh, are you kidding me? He's like, I think truly trolls have broken a lot of people. Yeah. And maybe they're too old to be on the internet. I don't know what it is. Just log off for a little bit.
Some of you guys who have been here for a while will definitely notice that there was a time not very long ago where I would be too easily triggered by the chat, and realizing that people would just come to try to disrupt the show and make me upset, not because they care about what they're saying, but just because it's funny to see me freak out. And I've learned a little bit that it's definitely difficult, but it's a little easier to tell between the people who actually care and the people who are just trolling. Shout out to equality and deference because vagina. Welcome to the party over on a Rumble. Said liked and shared. There we go, guys. That is how we grow the community. She said, why is this such an interesting subject to Candace Cutie Pie Owens? People in power tend to be strange, crazy wackadoodles. Well, I think you answered your own question, Equality. Because people in power tend to be strange, crazy wackadoodles. That's why. Welcome to the party. John said, I'm not pro-trans. I don't want to lock them up either. And the medical procedures I'm against. I said, shit, me too. Baby, she's like, I'm pro-anti-trans. Fair enough. Anna said, quote, social media made y'all way too comfortable with disrespecting people and not getting punched in the face for it. Shout out to Mike Tyson. Welcome to the party, guys. Let's dive right back in.
And maybe they're too old to be on the internet. I don't know what it is. Just log off for a little bit, smell some fresh air.
Yeah.
It's not real life. The internet is not real life.
Right.
I mean, could you imagine me?
I don't like when people say that. I don't like when people say that. Twitter's not real life. TikTok's not real life. Yes, the fuck it is. For better or worse, arguably worse, it absolutely is real life for way too many people. Maybe 10 years ago, we could say that. But people live online. And I understand the sentiment that's being said when you say online is not real life, or TikTok is not real life, or Twitter's not real life, or whatever. But you can't just brush it off as, oh, it's just online. Especially the younger you are, the more that is the case. And I agree. If you're 45 years old and you lived your entire life without social media, and now you're addicted to fucking, hate tweeting people, that's fucking cringe. But if you're, 20 years old and you've never had a world without social media, that absolutely is real life. Let's just get that clear. Anyone says nobody's saying locking them up. I mean, talk to Am about that. That's the excuse they use to dismiss their behavior. Oh, the social media. Yeah. And I completely agree with Tyson there. John said, especially kids, but even the surgeries and hormones should be held until they are 25 or so, and definitely no government spending to support it. Yeah, this goes in line with the desire to move the age of consent of adulthood, all of that, to 25. The issue that I saw, the only person I've seen bring this up, because it really shook. I was pretty strong in this opinion. Like, yep, make everything 25. You got to be 25 to drink. You got to be 25 to drive. You got to be 25 the military, all of that, to vote, all of that shit. But somebody said, you realize that turns 19 to 24 or 18 to 24 year olds into minors. So unless we also have laws specifically regarding sexual stuff with 25 or under 25 but over 18, that's a little bit of a stick in the mud. A little bit of stick in the mud. So I think that is going to be our next poll, but we got to break it. 50-50, guys. We are 50-50. Pick a side, Israel or Palestine. One of them's got to win. One of them's got to win. If they're not going to win in the real world, let's at least have some conclusion here. Charismatic Fiend said, Kabbalah believes there are 8 genders. Nope. 2. Shout out to Cody B. Welcome. Indeed, it is a trap, but I have a purpose. Trust me, we gonna get there. Welcome to the party. Equality said real life for many people is a good point. Yeah, online absolutely is real life for a lot of people. And those people go out into the real world with that mentality, and they do things, they interact with people, and they vote. Johnson, I know an 18-year-old girl on hormones. It's sad. She isn't a boy. She is caught in the fad.
Bingo.
There's too many of them. We are coming up on that point in time when we're going to see a landslide of detransitioners. There's just been too many people that have been brought into this for the wrong reasons, usually social stuff, and it's just not sustainable. It's not going to last. Yep. They want, that's power to demand that everybody thinks that you, the way that you do, that's power. That's all they care about. Amy said, sorry, but I don't feel bad for them. They're just signing in a larger genocide by multiple means. Weak-minded people aren't useful. Who is this about, the transes or the Israel-Palestine stuff? John said, luckily, most people see through the trans propaganda these days. I'm in California. The people here are still brainwashed. Yeah, I think that's going to have to be a generational thing. I think this generation of people who are in California or Portland or even New York and places like that, I think we just have to wait for the millennials to die out. When my generation dies out, that's when the far left places are going to rebalance. So let's make 18-year-olds adults again. How though? How do you do that? Because the problem is they are already 18. And so if we want to look at, okay, we can see that Gen Z at 18 they're not where we want them to be. But they're already there. So we could work on, okay, let's make sure that by the time Generation Alpha gets to be 18, they're adults. But what do we do with the younger millennials and these Zoomers who are just not, they're barely even real people? Shout out to Alistair Crowley. John said, don't be mad. I've known people who are legit trans, but they don't support the trans ideology either. They get ostracized from both sides. Yep. Bambi said, who cares? Trans people are fake and gay. Fair enough. All right, we got a winner. Israel wins. Israel wins. What does that mean? I don't know. What do you think it means? What was I going to say? Come on, I had another one. Right.
That's the internet, right? And so they have to kind of know the difference between, well, I've never seen so many people saying names. Jordan Peterson has taken this stance too. And I'm like, is this everybody's first
he's
time?
Against name calling?
Oh my gosh, are you kidding me? He's like,
oh, JBP against name calling? Your whole thing was about speech and free speech.
I think truly trolls have broken a lot of people.
Yeah.
And maybe they're too old to be on the internet. I don't know what it is. Just log off for a little bit, smell some fresh air.
Yeah.
It's not real life. The internet is not real life. Right. I mean, could you imagine me?
I bet some of those children in Gaza would love to be called a name.
Right? If that's all they had to deal with. And they're acting like every day they're dealing with like, I've survived slavery. I'm Harriet Tubman. I've escaped to the north because I responded to a troll. I survived an internet holocaust. Dude, just log off. If you are that rattled,
take a beat.
Block or log off. Take a beat. You know? And so
I had a war with the red mango frozen yogurt. It got very intense. Yeah. And we
just like a woman.
I believe I was.
Was this a troll, Red Mango?
No. This is a real frozen yogurt company.
Oh, you're talking about the actual Red Mango?
Yeah, we just started attacking. Yeah. I don't know how it happened, but we both were not at our best.
Well, I said, is Tim Dillon? Is this Tim Dillon guy a part-time Chris Farley impersonator?
How dare you?
Well, I didn't mean to hit the how dare you, but he definitely could if he wants to. But no, Tim Dillon is his own brand. And then that one's for you and me.
Oh, it happened. But we both were not at our best.
Have you thought about
what are we talking about?
You're talking about the actual Red Mango.
Yeah, we just started attacking. Yeah. I don't know how it happened, but we both were not at our best.
Have you thought about writing a book about this? Yeah. Because I think you could help people.
Yeah,
it's like
we're not at our best. You gotta sometimes you gotta just move on.
Red Mango.
You gotta just move on.
Red Mango versus Tim. Yeah. I would read. By the way, I would read this.
Yeah, we were about to cover Charlie Kirk going on Peterson's podcast today, but I saw this and I was like, let's go with Tim Dillon and Candace. Why not? John said, a wise man once said, fuck Israel. Hell yes. Fuck Israel. I don't give a shit about Jews. Fuck Israel.
Because people need this. There's a full thing happening where people really think the internet is real life.
Are we going to war with Iran? Let's hope not.
I think we are.
I think we are too.
I think we are too. Because of the fact that we were so involved in the Israel-Palestine stuff.
We're not seeing Bibi Netanyahu get what he wants.
Well, it's interesting. Like everyone's like, I don't know. There's this weird, like, you know, I explained this the other day, and I was like, Iran's this like boogeyman that I've heard about since I'm 9.
Mm-hmm.
And me and my friend are always like, when you take hostages like Iran did in the 80s or whatever, you're just on the list forever. And everyone talks about going to Iran. Now, we've done this. We've seen this movie. We know what happens when we put Western troops in a Muslim country. We decapitate the leadership. We install a new government. We know what happens.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't like a mysterious thing of like, what's going to happen?
Mm-hmm.
How will this work?
Well, I mean, have we done a study? Have you been?
We know what's going to happen. And we still seem to be marching towards it.
Yeah. And
I almost wonder if some of this Defense Department stuff that's happening, and maybe Pete Eggs is having a cocktail every now and then. I don't know. That's a possibility. But there's also a possibility that there's a lot of people that there's some turmoil because people want to move in the direction of war with Iran.
I'm just wondering, like, I don't have a crystal ball. How have I been saying to...
You're not an expert? Is that what you're saying, Candace?
The direction of war with Iran.
I'm just wondering, like, I don't have a crystal ball. How have I been saying to my audiences for 3 years that we're going to war with Iran? Like, I don't have a crystal ball. How did I know all of these things that were going to happen when I...
And this is what I talk about, guys, with people predicting the future. I specifically say, I'll come back to this. I specifically say, these people do not have a crystal ball. That's my line. You want to follow people who can predict the future because they don't have a crystal ball. If you have a crystal ball, then you're just going to the crystal ball. But if you don't have a crystal ball and you are able to predict the future, that means that you are seeing what you need to see to connect the dots to be able to predict those things. That is a key element of who I decide to listen to, not listen to, so on and so forth. So Zippy said Saudi Arabia is more of a threat than Iran. Make your case. Because I feel like we have a much better relationship with the Saudis than the Iranians. Am I wrong about that? Or indeed is a racket. What is it good for? John said, are you talking to each other? Word up. Let's dive back in.
3 years that we're going to war with Iran. Like, I don't have a crystal ball. How did I know all of these things that were going to happen when I was telling them about what was going to happen with Zelensky?
Yeah.
Guys, the media, it's also farcical. Like, it's pretending.
It's crazy.
All you have to do is pay attention to what Bibi Netanyahu said. He's been like, literally, he said Libya, he said Syria, he said Iraq, he said Iran. The footage is on the internet. And when people ask him about America, he's on camera saying America is something that can be easily manipulated, right? We're going to get what we want. All of it's there. Why are we in the Middle East? In case you didn't know this, you may not be the best geography. I'm not the best geography. But America, the United States of America, is not located in the Middle East. So it's kind of weird that we just keep having nonstop beef in the Middle East, right?
Yeah.
And
it's almost like it's on purpose. But our government would never do that, right? No. He said they both look pregnant to me. Yeah, I mean, he's a big guy, but he don't be fucking women. So take that what you will. Is it for me? Iran is pretty contained. Saudi Arabia is all over the place. Saudi is part of the deep state and has more vectors for conflict. But maybe I'm looking at it in the wrong way. But wouldn't that, if they're more part of the deep state than people in the Iranian government, then doesn't that stand to reason that we wouldn't have a reason to fight them? Because fighting them is fighting themselves. No? Anyone said, look at images of Iran before the Ayatollah took over, before Islam. And yes, the CIA was at fault. That is a good side quest. I think they do pretty well with Iran before and after the revolution. There was a famous one that I've seen all over the place. This one. So this is Iran. This is Iran in what, 79? I forget exactly what year is it. But before the revolution, parties and all that stuff. And then afterwards, well, okay, here you go. This is about as good of a demonstration as you're going to get. This is about as good of a demonstration as you're going to get. Obviously, we just saw the actual photos, but the demonstration is right there. Emmy said, anyone who thinks they're trans has a weak constitution and are easily manipulated, not useful. I think that it is a little bit more in line with the social the social thing. I don't necessarily think it, because exactly what we were talking about before, when with psychology and being able to be brought into ideas, and it's easy to say this as a grown woman who didn't have that that type of rhetoric and propaganda when you were that age. I'm not saying you personally would have fallen for it. I'm just saying you don't have the experience of what it would be like when everybody is saying this is the this is the best thing that you can do. I don't necessarily know if it is a weak constitution. I mean, easily manipulated, I can't really argue with that. But I think that it's not giving enough credence to the actual factors that are making people make these types of decisions. Israel is the common problem. Yep. He said U.S. and Europe are funding Israel to be a vector point. What do you mean by a vector? What? Spell that out for me, please. Charismatic Fiend said the pendulum swings between the left and right. Leave me in the center. If only it was that simple. Right when the woke left was, losing its power a little bit. We're talking about how, the pendulum is swinging. If it's not at its fulcrum, then it's slowing down and getting to that point. And it's going to swing back the other way. And the notion of using an actual pendulum and catching it in the middle isn't really how it works. It goes from this side straight over to that side. So it's not so much of a pendulum. And there never is a strong center. But I agree with the sentiment for sure. Anyway, said, I think Saudi Arabia wants a stable market to sell their oil, but there are factions in Saudi Arabia, but they are all Allah Akbar. What's on Reddit? What are we talking about? For conflict. Yeah, but I'm saying US and Europe are funding Israel. So you're saying because of the funding to Israel, that Saudi Arabia would be like, fuck you. Is that what you're saying? I think that's what you're saying.
We just keep having nonstop beef in the Middle East, right?
Yeah.
And
a lot of it's oil, probably, right?
But that's the whole point.
For sure.
So all of us pretending like there's weapons of mass destruction.
Right.
It's about regionally, Israel wants to expand its interest and its power in the region. Truthfully, we have been in bed with Israel since its creation in 1948 and really proliferated that after JFK mysteriously got shot, and we're not allowed to know anything more about that, just accept the narrative, whatever. We increased our relationship like LBJ did that. All of that, and when you speak about this real history and show, like Israel said, LBJ was the greatest friend. Okay, well, that's weird because JFK was arguing with Israel leading up to his death. Him and Prime Minister Ben Gurion were arguing every day on the phone, still not declassified. He didn't want them to go nuclear. He was trying to stop them from getting weapons. And then all of a sudden, the guy under him in command does a complete 180 once he gets shot. It's problematic that we can't have these discussions, but it's actually the most crucial thing. And this is why Dave Smith gets completely pilloried, because he's willing to talk about this unhealthy relationship and attachment that we have with Israel. I
have not found anything. Now, again, not super well read on everything that he's done, but every time I've heard him talk, I've never heard Scott Horton say anything I've disagreed with. That doesn't mean that if he says it, it must be true. I'm just saying, in my personal experience, Scott Horton has always been right about everything I've heard him say.
Because he's willing to talk about this unhealthy relationship and attachment that we have with Israel. I don't view the CIA and the Mossad as different organizations, and neither should you, by the way. Like, they are fundamentally the same deep state that I think have been working hand in hand for a very long time.
A lot of the interests overlap often, right? And
I think that's much fairer to say. The interests overlap, that they are the same.
Always. When have they not overlapped?
Yeah, well, I think the Saudis complicate the picture slightly.
Right.
They complicate it slightly, but I would say that there's almost always overlapping interests, right? The Saudis complicated a bit, but it does seem like there is kind of a movement now in America to basically try to understand more about the dynamics that enable certain decisions.
Right.
I think, you know,
and there should be, because it's the thing is Israel is, as they always say, we're just a tiny country, the size of New Jersey. And it's like, okay, that's not like a thing that you should be counting in your favor. Why are you causing so much crap? You know what I mean?
Shout out to Jersey.
I think there's
so they need bodies. They need more bodies. And that's why I try to wake people up to. It's like the reason why you have to critique this country is because when they
there's also people in Israel that critique it as well, that are saying
more than any. I read Haaretz every day. They are marching in the streets.
They don't want this war.
It's not Israeli.
Well, of course, it's not as simple as everyone in the country agrees with the government. But yeah, it's not a foregone conclusion that if you're in Israel, you are supporting what Israel does.
We're talking about governments. Our government sucks.
Intelligence agencies. I think there's a lot to be said for the people, a lot of them in Israel, who are going, we think Bibi Netanyahu
is corrupt. He's facing corruption trials right now.
We don't want to expand the borders of this country, you know, and the people of Israel are suffering, and Jewish people around the world are potentially suffering.
John said, I think Israel started as a satellite, but became powerful through the intelligence Mossad. I think that's fair.
Because of these actions.
Because of the unnecessary conflation. Like a Jewish American, you have nothing to do with this. There's no reason why you have to defend anything he's doing. This is a random country in the Middle East. And I know there's been a lot of people, and I call it's the same conditioning that Black people face in the classroom. Like if you want to know why Black people wanted to jump and support BLM, really without even thinking, is because they have been raised to understand that there's this existential crisis. Like being Black, you're automatically a victim. And
this is the conversation that I'm trying to have with anyone who is Black, who is willing to engage in this conversation. That the Black community TM, is one of the most detrimental things to Black Americans. Period. Full stop.
Happens because of public schooling. We learn so much about slavery. They imprint that in our mind as we're growing up. So then
I saw that it was happening. I'm not interested in that kind of stuff unless I'm doing it. You know, it's the same old thing. I saw them debate at DebateCon, and I doubt that it's going to be very much different. But hey, if it's good, I could definitely check it out.
When somebody says, oh my gosh, like George Floyd, you better get out there, Black people instinctually do that. And so I understand very much why Jewish Americans after October 7th felt the way that they felt, because in that same way, the imprint for them is the Holocaust, right? We learned so much about that in school. There's so many movies about it. Same for slavery, so many movies about it in Hollywood.
And it's understandable that, you know, seeing anybody get dragged from a rave into a tunnel is a crazy, horrible thing that everybody would, you know, it condemns and says is
100%. And then that's what you always get the initial reaction. Like I completely forgive and excuse that. And there's no one that I would say.
And like after 9/11, this country went around and did a lot of things that I don't think made us safer. And in fact, put us in a bad position financially.
And we gave up our freedoms to do that.
Shout out to Petrie. Welcome to the party. Love it. I put a community tab post asking about if spitting on someone was always trashy. I think it's always trashy, but I wanted to know what you guys think. And Petrie said the only person that deserves to get spit on is Rosie O'Donnell. I'll take it. We also got Behave in the building. Welcome to the party. I'm a little under 5% Black. Do I count? If you are okay, so if you're Black enough to be considered Black by other people and you are in favor of supporting quote unquote the Black community TM, then you count. But something tells me that you don't. Oh, it's on Israel. Yeah, I'll check that out. Boom. There we go. I mean, a religious argument, it wouldn't even matter to secular people or Arthew. That makes sense. And what does that mean? That means that whatever Andrew Wilson is saying, regardless of whether we believe it, regardless of whether it's good for America, that a lot of people are just not going to listen because it is a religious argument. We have to be able to articulate why we want to embody certain values, even to those people who don't believe the same things you believe. It might be an insult to spit, and yes, it is always trashy. Yep. Petrie said, I'm busy doing something. I got you. Word up. Behave said, I want reparations. I said, shit, me too. All right, let's dive back in.
And in fact, put us in a bad position financially.
And we gave up our freedoms to
we
do that.
tortured a lot of people that were innocent. We killed a lot of people that were innocent.
We have to take our belts off at TSA now.
We have to take our belts off at
our
TSA,
shoes off,
all of that
and we're
stuff.
innocent.
And we didn't do anything.
We didn't do anything, and now we get to like
also
criminals.
A lot of soldiers.
Now, is that the end of the world? No, but it's the principle. The principle.
Gave their lives in. So I think it's there's an understandable rage and reaction that people have. But from our own history, you can see that it did go too far.
Yeah, and that's what we're doing now. Is like we now have the first time as like Generation 9/11, as I refer myself to slow things down after a big event happens, and to before we get ourselves in those circumstances again, we can slow down and go, what are we actually doing here? Who actually benefits? Nothing made sense after 9/11. We were told that Saudis were on the plane, and we didn't go to war with Saudi Arabia.
Right.
We then went to war with Iraq
Threat
because
level
we were told
was orange and then red.
Yeah, and the weapons of mass destruction. They never found the weapons of mass destruction. Then we went into Afghanistan.
WMDs.
Nothing made sense. And so what this actually was we were going to go to war no matter what. They needed to justify. They need the public to get on their side about it. And that's how I feel about what's happening right now, is that war with Iran has already been decided upon.
Yeah, I don't care about that.
And they're just
Where
playing
is Trump
a game.
in this?
Well, there you go. If we're talking about getting kinky, then that's a different thing. But that's why I purposely choose my words carefully in these polls. I wonder how many people went there. Charismatic Feed said there are more Christian Zionists than Jewish. Well, there's a lot more Christians than Jews, so that makes sense. John said, I totally agree with Andrew, just saying it was religious in argumentation. So I'll likely disagree.
About what's happening right now is that war with Iran has already been decided upon. And they're just
Where
playing
is Trump
a game.
in this? Where is the Trump administration?
I mean, my understanding is that Trump would like a diplomatic resolution, but the neocons want war.
As always. And guys, we did miss our goal, but we can still hit the dollar amount of 50. And if you would like to keep the party raging, we are past the 2-hour mark. So you know how to keep it raging.
And unfortunately, there's a lot of neocons in Trump's cabinet. And I think that's when you're speaking about that push-pull and what's going on with Pete Hegseth. And what's happening is that there are people who are genuinely, I mean, from what we heard, Tulsi Gabbard and Pete Hegseth. And there was one other person who stopped us from attacking Iran or whatever it was. They are the reason that we're not at war with Iran today. But everyone else wants to go to war because it's already been decided upon. And so you have to kind of wake up the American people. When I say American, I'm talking Jewish American, just American, guys. Like, stop seeing yourself as black, white, Jewish. Like, we need to recognize.
And that is the woke right, looking at identity politics.
What's happening here, because very few people benefit from this perpetual state of war. Whether we're talking about Ukraine, Israel, very few people at the tippity top are actually benefiting from the war machine. It's not you and me.
It's Lockheed Martin and Boeing and a bunch of other wartime companies. No. All right. Did I miss you guys here? Where we at? Anna said, forget the reparations. I just want my white privilege back, darn it. Fair ask. That's a fair ask. Just my views of Israel are purely political. I don't even consider the religious angle. I said shit. Me too. He said, neocons love war. They want to marry it and record the... Yep, you're right. You were right. Johnson Zionism is the fruit of the Marxist ideological tree. I hate commies so much. I don't need to appeal to my religious beliefs to dismiss it. There you go. I'm not sorry. That's John's words, but sorry, not sorry.
Benefiting from the war machine, it's not you and me.
It's something that I woke up to. We're maybe similar ages. I'm 40. I don't know if you're talking about your age. You don't have to.
Oh, I do. I talk about my age. I'm 35.
Okay, so
but my birthday's on Tuesday, so I want you to make sure you get me something.
Happy birthday! I absolutely.
Okay, so that was yesterday. So she is 6 months older than me. Okay,
absolutely will.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely will. Get her a subscription to the Free Press. Now,
very wise.
Now,
speaking of dogs, guys, don't forget every single donation comes with a treat from Morty, and we'll keep the party raging.
Did she tweet my special? I tell Barry, I go, if you want me to support whatever you're doing over there, I need more than a free tote bag. I like Barry, but I said I want to read her article. She gave me a free subscription to the Free Press. Her article wasn't included. I had to upgrade. So I'm just saying, not anti-Semitic, just what it is. But here's what I'll say. We learned this. We watched our friends go to war in Afghanistan and Iraq and die. And we watched a lot of people, we watched the 10 counties around Washington, D.C. become the wealthiest counties in America.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have significant natural beauty. They don't have tons of resources.
They do have tons of power.
It wasn't the location of Wall Street or Hollywood or the country music capital. It wasn't any of that. It was just, you know, kind of humdrum, plain Jane suburbs that surrounded this nucleus of power, you know, McLean, Virginia, Langley, Virginia.
Why are they so rich?
Right. So they got really rich, and veterans came back and had no health care. Veterans came back and their suicide rates were off the charts. Veterans came back and couldn't get housing. They were ignored. They were put on ice. And then we watched tons of people that worked in, you know, military adjacent fields, the defense industry, things like that, become incredibly wealthy.
Claudia Debrin said, I'm not an anti-Semite. I just, as Equality says, hate Jews. Hey, that's funny. That's funny. Get it? Get it? John said, did you know less than a quarter of the blacks in America are descendants of slaves? Pretty funny when we talk about reparations. A bunch of people who were never slaves asking for money from people who were never slave owners. That's America, Jack.
Adjacent fields, the defense industry, things like that, become incredibly wealthy. And that, to me, I feel like was a lesson that a lot of people my generation learned.
And that's what I'm saying. Our generation did learn that. And that's why we're vocal.
A lot of people are unlearning it.
And for the first time, and I'm very optimistic about it, because obviously I wouldn't have a platform if what I was saying, if the press was to be believed, I wouldn't have a platform. I mean, they've called me every name possible in the book, gone after my family, gone after my job, gone after.
That's the rite of passage, Candace. That means that you are doing something right. It doesn't mean everything you say is right, but if they're coming after you, you're doing something right. People don't hate unless you're doing something right.
My career, but at the end of the day, my sons are not going to grow up and fight in your shitty little war. And that's where I'm at. I'm on some mom stuff right now. And you're not going to mess with the mama bear. Okay. I'm going to speak the truth unapologetically. I don't really care about your feelings. I don't really care about like a mean tweet from like Meghan McCain. And I understand why she loves war. She's her family's one of the benefactors of war. I get it. I get the neocon class. You guys are rich because people in the South who are poor, our sons are dying in your wars. I get it. I really do.
I
but
dressed
you make
up
me
as her
sick.
years ago, and she still holds it against me.
I'm not kidding. Her and Ben Dominic, I sent one tweet and it's been 7 years or 4 years, and they haven't let it go. I mean, and it was a really honest tweet that I put out there. I was offending Joe Rogan when she was saying during COVID, when suddenly it was like the revenge of people who never took care of their health and they got the vaccine and then were like, you don't care about health. And she went after Joe.
All these fat, fuck, disgusting people you don't care about health.
Rogan. And she's like, Joe Rogan's an idiot who doesn't care about health. And I was like, no one should be listening to Meghan McCain.
No.
She never let it go.
She's like, oh, honey, sweetie, baby. You no. Yep, that is it is what it is. Numbers aren't racist unless you're a Marxist. John said it's simple. You shouldn't be held responsible for your parents' crimes. Argument over.
Bingo.
Donezo.
Health. And I was like, no one should be listening to Meghan McCain.
No.
She never let it go.
No, people get in their feelings and stay there.
Yeah. I want to be forgiven.
Yeah. I mean,
so many people that just don't like me.
Well,
sad.
This is part of the thing.
So sad, Tim.
Part of the game.
But I'm real sad.
Yeah. What I find fun about a lot of the stuff, when you're talking about these things, you enjoy what you do.
I love it.
You like what you do.
Mm-hmm. I really do.
I like what I do.
I sleep at night knowing that I'm saying something that I actually believe.
You're not afraid of people you disagree with.
Mm-mm.
I don't think you strike me as someone who needs to be siloed in a thing where they never engage with. You seem to engage with a fair amount of people who disagree with you.
I love it.
You don't.
I want to have my mind changed. I don't want to be in a box and hearing myself speak. This is why I love even what I do now, because I tell people to be a part of the investigation and they send me things. And I love that my platform now has so many people that were on the left. Before when I was at the Daily Wire, it was really kind of exclusively conservative, and now it seems, since I guess I'm giving more of just me.
Yeah,
that there's people on both.
Ooh, that's a good poll. Which Candace do you prefer? This Candace or the Daily Wire Candace? Do you prefer this or the Daily Wire? I have a feeling I know where this is going to go, but I am curious. Shout out to a man called Clay. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the party. Said Taurus moms don't scare easily. I'm not a huge believer in astrology, but if that's a thing, definitely works here. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the party.
And now it seems, since I guess I'm giving more of just me.
Yeah,
that there's people on both sides.
There's also multitudes. Everyone contains multitudes. There's people that are, you know, I think people called me liberal friends that I have. I you know, live in New York. I lived in LA. A lot of my friends are liberal. Most of them are wealthy. I spend most of the time with people whom I use for things, and a lot of them happen to be liberal. You know, and I tolerate.
Did I just hear what I think I heard?
Most of the time, my friends are liberal. Most of them are wealthy. I spend most of the time with people whom I use for things, and a lot of them happen to be liberal. You know.
That sounds like he was talking about getting dick down. CT said the Daily Wire seems more and more like the mainstream media. They started independent. Doesn't seem like that anymore. I agree. I think and I mean, that seems to be a natural progression of these types of companies, which is why you see whether it's, you know, left or right, whether it's the Young Turks or Timcast or Daily Wire, these companies, it doesn't make sense in this media landscape to be part of that for a long time. So, like, if I could get a contract with the Daily Wire, I would sign it like that. I mean, depending on what it was, you know, but I would love that. But eventually, it wouldn't make sense for me to be there anymore because I could use their platform to build my own platform. And then why would I go through an intermediary? Cut out the middleman. Abe said, I don't like her much at all, I'm going to assume. Like some very... what? Trojan horses. Who's Trojan horses? What are you guys talking about?
I spend most of the time with people whom I use for things, and a lot of them happen to be liberal, you know, and I tolerate their personalities because of the homes they have. And
the boats.
Yeah, you gotta.
Yeah.
Boats and hoes.
You know what I mean?
And you gotta get out to Montauk in the summer.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, I'm gonna tolerate this for nothing. Let's get on a boat. Tell me about it on a boat. Tell me about the non-binary kid on a boat. Now.
It's so much more understandable on a yacht.
Look at the wind; you can't even hear.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you this, and I love my liberal friends. I love my conservative.
Am I the new Brett Cooper? I would happily be the new Brett Cooper. Hondo said Breaking Points News has totally sold out. Now, Sagar needs to leave Crystal. She is definitely a leftist nut. I was just talking about how I just shared a video in the Discord from Kyle Kalinske, and it's like, it's crazy that it was reasonable at one point for someone like me to follow somebody like that. Now, remember, he started as secular talk, right? So his whole thing was not about politics. It was about religion. And so in that way, it worked for me. But as he got more and more and more into politics, as so many atheists do, they go down the same exact road and end up like Kyle Kalinske, due to women like Crystal Ball. Crystal lost it a year ago when she went at RFK. I need to see that. Let's do Crystal Ball RFK. Does somebody know? Oh, is it specifically the two of them? All right.
So let me ask you about vaccines. This is an area where you and I have significant differences. And, you know, just to level with you on this, like a lot of what you say I really respond to. I think you're a very genuine person. But the across the board, whether you want to call it vaccine skepticism or anti-vax advocacy, which has been a central part of what you've been up to for the past number of years, for me personally, it's an issue, and it's a real sort of red line. And I know I'm not alone in that, especially running in a Democratic primary. There are going to be other millions of people like me who have similar concerns. So how do you win them over? What's your message to people who think like I do?
Well, but just tell me where you think I got it wrong.
Well, I think you get it wrong.
That's a great way to start.
When you draw a correlation between the rise of things like autism and the introduction of vaccines when there isn't hard scientific evidence tying those things together.
How do you know? Let me ask you this. How do you know there's not a hard scientific evidence?
Well, because the one major study that purported to show that was retracted, and the scientist who conducted it was,
now, what you're doing now,
basically
Crystal,
fraudulently created. Listen,
no.
Hold on. But I don't want to get in a debate.
See, I'm not necessarily totally anti-vax. I am more specifically the COVID vaccine. But listening to RFK has made me realize that I never actually looked into other vaccines, and I'm a lot of things over the last 5 years. Thought I knew, like, maybe I should question this. Maybe I should question this. She's like, Sagar's face is hilarious. Oh, poor Sagar. Poor Sagar. You know that's not what it is, right? I'm going to assume that's a joke. So Clay said, as long as total anti-vax, as long as they're immune from legal responsibility. Fair. Definitely fair.
No.
Hold on. But I don't want to get in a debate with you about this because you've spent your life pulling out this study. I will tell you. Let me just tell you.
Hundreds and hundreds.
Let me just tell you. I've listened to hours of interviews.
So if you're not even willing to engage, then why did you bring it up? Why did you bring him here?
With you with an open mind, and I'm not.
Was it though?
Not persuaded. Now, maybe I'm wrong. That's possible. I'll hold it out there. People can watch. I thought Megyn Kelly did a phenomenal interview with you that went through all these claims piece by piece by piece.
What was the... quality difference. Basically, we were saying that Kyle Kalinske is his brain fried by Crystal Ball, and someone said she went crazy with this. I was like, let's check it out. Yeah, that would, knock down her argument. Which again is the question, why did you bring him here? Uniform said the vaccines. We spent 10 years in testing this vaccine from 1970 to 1980. That means all vaccines from now on are safe. Is that really the logic they use? Jesus. Yeah. And that's exactly who I'm talking about. That's Kyle Kalinske. That's exactly who I was talking about.
There, people can watch. I thought Megyn Kelly did a phenomenal interview with you that went through all these claims piece by piece by piece. I really encourage people to watch that whole exchange because we won't be able to do it justice here in the 5 minutes we have left. But there are going to be people like me who aren't persuaded and who see this as an issue. And the fact that it's been such a central part of your advocacy means I can't just sort of put it to the side and say, I'll just ignore, this piece that's been really important to you in your life. So you're running in a Democratic primary. You have a lot of people who feel even more strongly than me who think that, Dr. Fauci is a hero and all of these things. How are you going to persuade them? How are you going to reach them? And what is your message to them?
Caller said, I'm certainly anti-coercion vax. I think we can all agree with that, at least on this side of the aisle. Charismatic Bean said, why do we listen to millionaires and billionaires regarding our health? I don't really think how much money you have has to do with what you do or don't understand. I think that because, RFK is a millionaire many times over, but he has better information than the other millionaires and billionaires who are deemed as the experts. People in power get influence.
Well, first of all, I'm not leading with, my opinions about vaccines. What I say to people is show me where I got it wrong. Show me where I got my science wrong. I've written books about this. I wrote a book about a link between thimerosal and autism that has, I think, 450 distilled scientific studies that confirm and validate that hypothesis, and 1,400 references. And if I got something wrong, show me where it is.
But I think people have shown you where things are wrong, but you don't want to hear it.
But you won't. You won't. That's what he asked you, Crystal. Where do you think I got it wrong?
Is because I've seen, numerous.
It's because hey, with Zippy and some of y'all in here, I know I've learned to read this because she is brainwashed, impossible to reach. She's probably driving around a car alone, wearing a face diaper still. I don't know what's good. I got to deal with y'all fucking shitty typing all goddamn day.
Fact checks Dr. Vinay Prasad, who we, really respect on
appeal to authority. Yet again,
COVID vaccine. He went through your interview with All In. He did a fact check. I mean, it's not.
And then I did a fact check of Vinay, and you should read that.
I will take a look at it, but I don't think that it's.
Maybe you should have done that before you started grilling him.
It's fair to say nobody has ever pointed out anything that's been wrong.
Well, here's what people complain about what I say. again, I'm not leading on this issue, so people can either take it or leave it. But if you want to, what you just said about me, that I'm sort of hard-headed and stubborn and just won't give in, you're wrong about that. If somebody shows me where I'm wrong, I'm going to correct it. And, we have the...
How do you think he became an anti-vaxxer in the first place? Do you think that he was growing up and he just decided that, you know what, today I'm going to dedicate my life to spreading false information? Come on, what are you talking about?
Probably the most robust fact-checking operation now in North America. I have 350 PhD scientists and MD physicians on, CHD's advisory board, including until recently, Luc Montagnier won the Nobel Prize for discovering the HIV virus. Chris Portier, who's the head of the National Toxicity Program at NIH, formerly, probably the top toxicologist in America. And if I were saying things that were scientifically unsound, those people would not stay with us. What I would say to you is, show me where I got it wrong. Show me a study where I got wrong.
And here we are back at the start with you, Crystal, having nothing to say, except other people said you were wrong.
I will change my position. Science is fluid. It's not an embarrassment to me if there's a new scientific study that I haven't seen that comes out and says I'm wrong. That's what you're supposed to do with science. But what I'm saying to you, nobody has done that. If Vinay Prasad, when he did his piece, if he showed me science that was valid, I would change my position.
If we got the two of you together,
read my response to him.
So you say this isn't what you're leading with, but I just have to say, as someone who, is watching your candidacy closely and is aware of the advocacy you've
So this was May 17th of 2023.
been doing, and the organization that you are involved with.
Senator Paul, you don't know what you're talking about. Okay, we were not doing gain of function research. Okay, we were just taking the function of the virus and adding to it. Okay, we changed the definition. That's no longer gain of function. You don't know what you're talking about. I am the science that's directed evolution.
Come on, man.
It's hard for me to believe this won't be an important part of how you govern. So I think that's the most important piece for people to get, who you have to accept there are going to be people like me who just don't agree with you on this. You certainly understand that there are many who do think that the vaccines that we have are more beneficial than harmful, that, got their kids vaccinated and are happy for that decision. So how is this going to impact the way that you govern, or does it not at all?
I mean, I'm going to govern according to, what evidence-based medicine. That's so
let me give a specific question. If there's another pandemic, in the last pandemic, former President Trump,
and there will be, guys. Be ready. Shout out to the purebloods who stood up to the biggest propaganda campaign in American history. Dilly to you.
We gave him a lot of credit for. He launched Operation Warp Speed. They had a whole of government approach. They used the mRNA technology that was developed using, U.S. taxpayer dollars to get a vaccine out to the population as quickly as possible. How would your approach have differed?
My approach would have been a science-based approach.
Which means what?
Which means and a medicine.
We would have used science instead of just fifis and propaganda. So you say, I used to like Crystal and Sagar because I like their Rogan episodes. I'm not opposed to listening to their point of views, but this clip is when I realized Crystal is just a propagandist. Yeah. I mean, I feel like Sagar on his own could be good, but he doesn't have that charisma. Like, he's got good points, but maybe I'm wrong, but I think he hasn't gone out on his own because I don't know if he could. It does take a certain personality to be a personality. And he said everybody that contracted COVID should be suing Fauci in the NIH for creating COVID. But you can't. Not allowed. Not allowed. No accountability here. No, thank you.
Science-based approach.
Which means what?
Which means and a medicine-based approach, the approach that has been used for and approved for decades. You look first at therapeutics that are off the shelf, and you look at the efficacy of those. I mean, what I would have done if I was in power then, I would have created an information grid, because now we have this internet that is supposed to benefit us and has become instead an instrument for, totalitarian control. But let's use it for something good. Let's link all 15 million scientists, doctors, frontline physicians all over the world, and find out what they're doing to treat this new respiratory virus. and find out what they're saying is working and not working, and then test that with science, and then turn it instantaneously into protocols and recommendations for other scientists.
So would a vaccine development be part of that or not?
Well, I don't think the vaccine worked. I think, if you think it worked, then try to explain to me the countries that were unvaccinated did much better than our.
Because it didn't work. And yeah, charismatic thing, you're right that millionaires became billionaires after COVID-19. But I think that is a bad lens through which to view all this stuff. I think the number of dollars you have, I mean, Trump's a billionaire. And I mean, okay, fine. He was ahead of warp speed. But you get what I'm saying. CT said, everybody that died from AIDS, their family should also be suing Fauci. Yep, this isn't the first time he destroyed America. Not the first time. Yeah, worked at killing people. I mean, to be fair, it definitely was not some, horrible thing that most people who took it died. Most people who took it are fine. But there's a lot who are not fine. That's funny. Yep, that's a typical woman. Typical woman. Bill Gates made hundreds of millions. That computer nerd. Well, and exactly. But Bill Gates is bad because he's a bad guy who wants bad things for America and the world, not because he has a lot of money.
Those countries, because there are a lot in various countries. So a lot of those countries, as you pointed out before,
so now when you ask him or you're talking to him, he is not allowed to talk over you, but you're just going to steamroll. So just to let you guys know, we are going to finish this up unless we get somebody to keep us raging.
Is that right? Count in the world by far.
I think there are a lot of factors that may go into that.
That's just not true. That's just not true. Most people who took it are fine. There's a lot of people who are not fine, but most people took it and most people are fine. It's bad enough that we don't need to pretend that people aren't getting myocarditis and that long COVID isn't, a symptom from the shot and all that stuff. We don't have to make it worse than it is because it's already horrible. Context said, let's count how many times we try to move on when he makes a valid point. The idiot tactic of the media for tards. CT said she keeps cutting him off while he is a lawyer that has successfully beaten a lot of companies in this exact topic. But she knows better because she's not a bad person. She's a good person. I would like to see it. I would like to see what Sagar would do on his own. I worry what that would be. And I can't really put my finger on exactly why. But let's leave it to you guys. Let's see.
Count in the world by far.
I think there are a lot of factors that may go into that. Yeah. One of them is the fact that we are disproportionately obese as a society. We have the negative health outcomes that you've been talking about. We don't go outside as much as countries, say in Africa. I mean, there are a lot of different factors that may play into that. But I will say,
breaking points, you might say.
Did the vaccines work in the way they were initially promised to prevent spread? No, I don't.
Yeah, because he agrees with RK.
I don't think so, especially once you got to later variants. But we have a lot of data that shows that in terms of reducing severe hospitalization and death, the vaccines were really important. And maybe there was a cost-benefit analysis.
I want to see that data. I know that's what the
Equality, thank you so much for hanging out. You have a good one.
There is lots of data, and not just from here, from around the world, that shows the vaccine doses, and not just our vaccines, but ones that were created all around the world, reduce severe hospitalization and death. So in that way, yes, I do very much believe that they work.
And let me tell you something. What I believe you're doing now is you're parroting what the public health agencies have been saying, but they do not have a scientific basis for that. And I have another book out that you should look at called Died Suddenly, that goes through all the Johns Hopkins data, which is the dashboard data that everybody used, and shows exactly what happened when first of all, even the
it means Africa is poor and Africa is lesser than, according to Crystal Ball.
Vaccine, the Case Western study that is probably the largest, most recent, shows that
Hondo believes in Sagar. What about you guys? Apparently you do.
At most, the vaccine gives you a very, very small amount of protection, and that after 7 months, you go into negative efficacy. So you are more, if you got vaccinated, you're more likely to get sick. You're more likely to get severe illness, and you're more likely.
I knew it! I knew it. I've been saying it was always anecdotally. I've been saying that since the first shot was rolled out, or not since the first shot was rolled out. I think it was around the time that Delta, the Delta variant came around. That from my personal experience, I've seen way more people who've gotten the vaccine to get COVID and more times than the occurrences of people who are unvaccinated who got COVID. In my life, that's what I saw. And I was like, I don't have any science behind it. That's just what I've seen. And here we have it. The science is with me.
I told you. What did I tell you? Didn't I tell you? Because I told you. And when did I tell you? A long time ago. And what did I say? What happened when I told you? Exactly.
Well, I mean, that could work. That's kind of how. Did I say on his own? Okay, so I did it on his own. But yes, I think he just needs someone to, CT said, meanwhile, autism rates have gone from 1 in 10,000 to 1 in 36. That's the direction we want to move, right? The vax is COVID times 10. What, out loud? You think I won't say big boobs? You must be new here, bro.
You're more likely to get sick. You're more likely to get severe illness, and you're more likely to die than if you were unvaccinated.
I have not seen that. I have seen study.
What? You've not seen anything that he's talked about. Every single thing that he's brought up. You're like, I haven't seen that. I must take a look at that. That's what you're supposed to do before you have the conversation.
Your illness, and you're more likely to die than if you were unvaccinated.
I have not seen that. I have seen study after study that shows the opposite. Listen, I don't want to get bogged down in this because I don't think we're going to see eye to eye here. And we have some other questions we want to get to, and your time is short. But we'll put in post, please send us what you're looking at.
Yeah,
we'll put what I'm looking at, and people can judge for themselves. Hey, guys.
Okay, so people are going to judge for themselves. So when they posted this video, they had a bunch of links and sources from what RFK did, right? So we got, okay, they debate, blah, 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 breaking point, blah, blah, blah. Crystal would like to provide these studies on the vax. Okay, so they did. All right, fair enough. It's there. I'm not going to look at it, but you definitely can. So I'll drop the link if you want to do that. Yeah. So, I mean, you definitely see how the bullshit is still being pushed very far. And this connects to the experts thing. This connects to everything that we've been talking about for the past few months, and is specifically why I stay out of necessarily trying to report the news, because I want you guys to be able to, number one, be able to see the things that I see and point out the things that I'm not seeing, so that together we can be that entity that can predict the future without a crystal ball. When you know what's happening next, then you can prepare appropriately. If you have no idea, then all you can do is react. And when you react, I mean, you might get it right, but you might not. I'm here with our boy Indie Films. That new information has come out that those who have had the vaccine are actually infecting others with new spike proteins that's fucking up their system. Makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense. I don't even know what to do with that. It's like, of course, if you change the not anatomy, what's the word I'm looking, physiology of the way that that our body works, and specifically with our immune system, why would you think that this wouldn't happen? This is why we need to know for next time what not to dip our toes into, what to stay the fuck away from, and what to warn others about, so that it doesn't take over society and that we become second-class citizens again. That was not fun. I've always said that. Crystal Ball is a great stripper name. But let's give a big shout out to our donations. We had Josie with the 5. We had our boy Guam Tech. We had Zippy, TSM Lee with the Rumble Rant. And of course, TB Viewerski, our sponsor of the stream. Thank you so very, very much for hanging out, guys. I really do appreciate it. I know you could be doing anything with your time, yet you are here with me and Morty's down here. We're hanging out, and it means the world to me, guys. Just make sure that you click the link at the top of the chat. That is what this is really all about. It's all fun to hang out and check out what Candace Owens is saying and this, that, whatever. But what we are really doing here is building a community. If you want to be part of something that actually matters, then click that link. It's free. It's absolutely free. You don't like it, you can just leave. I think you're going to like it. But either way, it is free. And of course, to the members, if you are a member of this channel, then you get full access, as we saw in the video. And we are headed over to the after party right now. So you're not stuck behind your keyboard. You're actually on screen with me and everybody else. It is a good time, guys. Definitely come through. Thank you so very, very much for hanging out once again. This is Morty, and I have been your host, Lutch, a.k.a. the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Until next time, guys, we are out of here. Peace.